However, given the problems that have for long time been associated with the management of the public markets, including the extortion of the market vendors by the market management committee, existence of landlords in the public markets, charging of illegal fees and levies, etc., there is need to review some of the clauses as listed below. 1. Section 4B, 4.5. Section 4, subsection 5. Establishment of a public market. A local authority may, in accordance with the Public-Private Partnership Act 2015 or Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act 2003, enter into an agreement with a person to develop or manage a public market within an area of jurisdiction. Given the problems that has been associated with the involvement of the private persons or companies in the management of government markets, public markets should be developed and managed by the local authorities. Therefore, the above clause should be deleted. 2. Sections 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Market Management Committee. The clause provides for the Market Management Committee responsible for a general day-to-day management of markets. Their functions, tenure of office, and removal of members of the committees from office, meetings and creation of the subcommittees. The involvement of the vendors in the management of public markets has been responsible for fueling conflicts in the market that arises from exorbitant charges that are imposed on the vendors, unnecessary illegal levies and dues on the vendors, creation of landlords in the markets, unfair and unreasonable electricity, water, and garbage fees, creation of factions among the traders, multiple ownership of the stores. Civil servants in the local government have also been conniving with the committees to embezzle money belonging to government revenue, and generally engaged in corrupt practices. Local authorities should manage public markets directly without direct involvement of the vendors in the day-to-day management of the market. Therefore, the above clauses should be deleted. Section 28, subsection 3B. The word committee should be deleted. 4. Section 30. Allocation of shops, pitch or stalls in the public market. Clause 30, subclause 3, should be amended to give the administrative authority powers to determine the composition of the allocation committee and its mandate. Therefore, in accordance with the Article 91(3)(b) of the Constitution, I hereby return the bill, the Market Bill 2021, to Parliament for reconsideration of these sections as mentioned above, signed by the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Honorable members, upon receipt of this letter, of this bill, I referred the bill to the committee, and the committee is ready to report back. They are finished with their work. We shall be receiving the bill later in the day. Honorable members, when you look at Article 34, 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, it entitles all our children basic education, which is best taught on the responsibility of the state and the parents. However, we have continued receiving complaints from a number of schools of how school fees have been hiked. We need to have a policy, school fees policy in place that can make the school fees to be harmonized. We know we are in a free market economy, but we cannot get all that school fees from the parents. And remember, we have UPE and USE, and we have a right to education. We should allow our children to study. Now it is only children of the rich people who are studying. The poor people's children are not studying. The dropout is so high. The girl children are getting married so early. These children are not studying. So we need to regulate on the issue of school fees. Government needs to come up with a policy on how we can make sure that the school fees is regulated and nobody should be able to charge all those high fees to people. It is actually an exploitation. Tomorrow we are celebrating Women's Day. We'll be receiving a report from the Minister of Gender, who has delegated the government chief whip to present her report on the issue of women. No woman should be left behind. An inclusion of all the women in terms of empowerment, agriculture, innovation, creativity. All the women should be involved in whatever is being done in the economy. And we really must thank governments that so many women are at least somewhere. So many. Even in parliament here. The eyes have it, not so. Honorable members, yesterday I made a public declaration of my income, assets, and liabilities. I want you to lead by example as leaders of the people. Please go and declare. Honorable Nandala, go and declare your income, assets. Members, please do go and declare as per the Leadership Code Act. We should lead by example. Honorable members, earlier today we received the sad news of the demise of Honorable Justice Kenneth Kakuru, Justice of the Constitutional Court. The deceased served with this distinction, and on behalf of Parliament and on my own behalf, we want to convey our heartfelt condolence to the family and to judiciary. May we rise to observe a moment of silence.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honorable members, once more, I want to thank you really for coming over. We have matters of national importance, but the front desk is empty. It's almost empty. Can we go to item 3?
Item 3.
Procedure.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I raise on a procedural matter
Is it article rules?
Rule 109, right, Honorable Speaker, on our rules of procedure, and it talks about a censored minister. Right, Honorable Speaker, this afternoon, the Honorable Persis Namuganza, who was on the 23rd of this year, January, unanimously censored by this Parliament by a very heavy vote because of misbehavior, right, Honorable Speaker, and all the issues that these members of Parliament know. So she was indicted by this Parliament. I'm surprised that this afternoon she has majestically walked in the same Parliament and sat on the front bench where the honorable ministers are supposed to be sitting. Right Honorable Speaker, would we be proceeding well when somebody that this parliament has indicted, we censored her and even sent the notice to His Excellency the President as per our rules of procedure to come majestically and walk like a minister and sit like a minister and remain in front with all the comforts in disrepute, in disregard of the rule of this parliament and with the moving like a minister actually. For lack of words, I don't know, Speaker. Is that proceeding? Are we proceeding well, right, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable Member, I've got your concern, item 3.
Item 3, Bill's first reading, the Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023.
Honorable members, as you may recall, on 28th February 2023, this House granted leave to Honorable Basalirwa This House granted leave to Honorable Basalirwa to introduce the Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023. The bill was gazetted on the 3rd March and awaits a certificate of financial implication to enable the first reading. Honorable Considering the urgency of the matter, there is need for a Minister of Finance to exercise the urgency that is an issue, a certificate of as per the Public Finance Management Act, Section 76(1). We need a certificate. We put this on the order paper, knowing that this is a very urgent matter. May we hear from government on what is happening. The fight that we are on is a moral fight, is a cultural fight, and it is indeed a fight to protect our sovereignty and our families. As Parliament, we are doing our work to make laws for you. We need to respond to the cries of the citizens of Uganda. You've seen all over what is happening in schools, social media. Are we going to sit in this house and continue lamenting when we know we can be able to do this? Can we hear from you, government?
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, first of all, under the laws of Uganda and married to a woman with children, I wish to, for the record, there are 5. I wish to thank the Honorable Suman for the bill that was introduced seeking leave of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, we are also aware that under our different laws, the mandate of providing the certificate of financial implication falls squarely on the Minister or the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. I would wish, on behalf of government, Right Honorable Speaker, if it pleases you, to allow me consult with the minister, because I don't see any minister from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and accordingly update the House before the close of business.
Speaker, in our constitution, Article 31. Article 31, it is very clear rights of the family. And for you read clause 1, say a man and a woman are entitled to marry only if they are each of the age of 18 years and above. Sex is prohibited. And if you go further, number 3, clause 3 says marriage shall be entered into with the free consent of the man and the woman. Then it's married. So, Madam Speaker, our constitution is clear about who should be involved in what should be done. Why we really need a means of finance to give a consent on something which is already provided in the law.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nandala. Actually, homosexual Let's not look at the merits of the bill. Let's look at the certificate of financial implication. That's what we need first. Yes, the mover. Let the mover first.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank the House for the overwhelming support that was given when the motion was moved. Madam Speaker, the issue of the certificate of financial implication, I think we must go on record as you have guided. The front bench of government must take a stand on this matter and come out clearly. Are they willing and ready to avail the certificate or not? They must take a stand. Otherwise, if they don't take a stand, then an impression will be created that all of us here are condoning homosexuality, whereas not. Madam Speaker, I know the pressure that colleagues are going through from the constituents. This is a national matter. It's really beyond the parliament. And I'm moving forward. We should begin a campaign, Madam Speaker, where we shall be putting a book there and we sign those against homosexuality, so that the country knows that we are really against this vice, this moral wrong. And so, Madam Speaker, the front bench should take a stand as far as this matter is concerned. This is a law, by the way, we can pass very fast if the front bench cooperates and assures us that the certificate is coming.
There is a procedure matter.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I move on Article 65 of our rules of procedure.
It is a rule.
Rule 65 of our rules of procedure. Motion for adjournment of debate. Right Honorable Speaker, I need to move a procedural matter that through your office, you adjourn the House for 10 minutes until the Minister of Finance is in the House to give us a position of their implication. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Yes,
Honorable Speaker and honorable members,
the honorable member of parliament, I mean, the government chief whip has gone to follow up on the certificate. We'll wait for him to come back as we proceed with the other matters.
yes, but Madam Speaker, as he is going to look for that particular minister, this is a bill that does not affect the consolidated fund, and it's very painful where we move such a motion and we support it from our member and the minister is not ready. I don't know, Speaker, we have a big challenge on some of these senior ministers like Honorable Matia Kasaija. They are never here.
They are never here. They have a lot of issues. They have a lot of directives they give that don't run this country. For example, members, you know, they are going to charge people to pay new number plates for 700 per number plate. All these are done by Minister of Finance without coming to Parliament. We want this minister to appear right now, Speaker. A financial implication is key in giving a certificate of financial implication. But where there is no need and does not affect the financial, the consolidated fund, why do we have to kneel before the minister and look for him? That is laziness. They were appointed to be here. Some of them are ex-officials who don't have constituencies. Why are they here?
Are you saying we should proceed with or without a certificate?
No,
Are you the one who made this law?
right now, Speaker, we just want to know why he doesn't do so. Why is he refusing to release the certificate? And we have to continue asking the chief.
Can we hear from the government chief whip? He has come back. Maybe he has good news for you. But before we hear from the government chief whip, can we hear from the minister of homosexuality? Minister. The minister of ethics. She's a minister of ethics. Honorable Minister, that was a joke. You're a minister of ethics.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I know you are joking. I am one of the persons who is entirely with all my whole body against marriage, a man to a man, a woman to a woman. Right Honorable Speaker, I have been dying with a lot of videos. I have a lot of videos sent from various schools. And we have been handling with the police, but I thank this parliament and most especially Right Honorable Speaker and the Deputy that this bill has come back. In 2011, in the 9th Parliament, this bill was again here. And some of us were the people who really voted that homosexuality should go away from the country. Right Honorable Speaker, as we are talking as a country, we are bleeding. Colleagues, it is not something which is simple. We are talking of institutions and schools. It is not only schools and institutions. It has gone up to the grassroots. It has gone up to our villages. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I am with you. I am with the whole house. And I'm happy our president is also with us. So, Right Honorable Speaker, this is an issue that invites both the executive and the legislative arm of government. We unite and we come up with a law to rescue the future generation of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, my bosses are here and we're working out as he has informed you. We shall get the Minister of Finance, and I know the certificate of financial implication will be brought to the House. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Lily. Thank you so much, Honorable Lily, and as Parliament of Uganda will make your ministry proud. We are going to pass this bill at whatever cost. We will pass it. We are going to protect the morals, the values of Ugandans. We will not accept the moral principles that are being brought to our country. Our generation is being degenerated, but we will protect it as Parliament. Honorable Government Chief Whip.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I called the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and I was informed that the Senior Minister, the Honorable Matia, is currently attending a meeting called by His Excellency the President at State House Entebbe. In his absence, I am duly informed that is the Minister of State in charge of investment, the Honorable Anita Evelyn, who will be holding brief for the senior minister. I also called her. She indicated to me that she is on her way. But that said, Right Honorable Speaker, may I say this? As far as I am aware, the request for a certificate of financial implication was made on Friday. And the law, both the Public Finance Management Act and the rules of procedure, give the minister within 60 days. Absolutely. Let's refer to honorable members. It may be urgent, but the minister is still protected by the law passed by this parliament. That he has 60 days.
Honorable Government Chief Whip, the inefficiency should not be a defense. What is wrong with giving this parliament a certificate? We are talking about issues of between life and death. Our children are being sodomized at school. Assuming it is your kid today who is being done like that. We asked for gazetting and we got it on the same day. Why don't you come up and just ask for an extension to Thursday? These are matters that are concerning all the citizens of Uganda. You cannot say that because we have 60 days. What about 60 days?
Speaker, it's very unfortunate that the Chief Whip,
Honorable Anita, you've come.
What?
Yes, I'm told you're standing.
right now, Speaker, the Chief who has proclaimed they are having 5 children cannot come before this floor of Parliament to defend the ministers. We were here in Parliament to saw how you released the certificate of financial implication when you are bringing the constitutional amendment by Honorable Mike Jesse. It was just 2 days. So whether they are 60 days or 90 days, the matter is of urgency. And we don't want to stop us from carrying out our work because of that. So, Honorable Speaker, is it procedure okay for the Honorable Minister to come here to defend the ministers using a law that is not necessary at this time? A man of 5 children, how would you have got those children if you were having a man with you in the same bed? How? Tell us.
Honorable members. Yes, Honorable Hassan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to believe this is an issue of morality, and there is a clear distinction between what is right and what is wrong. You've guided very well. We all have children in schools, and schools have opened. Parents are opening their eyes on what Parliament is doing when it comes to this particular matter of homosexuality. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join other members of Parliament who are thinking that it's not so difficult for the minister to bring that certificate here and we carry on the bill. Thank you so much.
Honorable Government Chief Whip and the Honorable Minister. Honorable Oboa, as I said before, it's a fight, a moral fight that we must all stand and say we do not condone to this. It's a cultural fight. We are protecting the sovereignty of our people and our cultures, our families. And I was very happy that you said you have a family with 5 children, with 1 woman. And we are saying we don't want to breach our moral principles. Anita is going to stand up and tell you, I have my husband, Kajiki. She will not tell you that she's married to Anita. Anita, can you tell us? When do we have a certificate of financial implication? And we are talking about a matter that is very urgent for this country, for our children, for our morals, for our culture.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues.
Order. Members, can you listen to the minister?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable.
And you're making noise now. Let's wait for the day of voting. You will have to come and vote by show of hands. You again run away. You again run away.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker, the matter that we're discussing is indeed a very important matter. And as you have said, I am not married to Anita. I am married to Alan Kajik, my darling husband, with whom we have produced babies, and we use the right address at all times. Right Honorable Speaker, as per the certificate, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has asked me
Order.
as for the certificate, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Machaka Saija, has asked me to come and inform the House that he would be with the certificate of financial declaration on anti-homosexuality bill passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you for that assurance. Thank you so much.
Item 5, motion for resolution of Parliament to inquire into the motion for adoption of the reports of the Select Committee on the State of Affairs at the National Social Security Fund.
Honorable members, on 15th February 2023, I received Honorable members, let's have a correction. Let's first adopt the petition from the Karamoja members of parliament so that we formally send it to the committee before we look at NSSF. It is not subject for a debate because the committee is already looking at it.
Item 5, motion for resolution of Parliament to inquire into the alleged mismanagement of relief items under the office of the Prime Minister.
Honorable members, on 15th February 2023, I received a petition from members of Karamoja Parliamentary Group on the alleged mismanagement of relief items under the office of Prime Minister. The petition was signed by the 8 members of Parliament of Karamoja Parliamentary Group. And considering the urgency of the matter, I did administratively refer the matter to the Committee of Presidential Affairs for an inquiry. However, as per the rules of procedure, Rule 156, we do need to regularize on the floor of the House by making sure the petition is laid on the table and then officially sent to the committee. The member of parliament, the chairman, is available. Would you move your petition? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Duru has something to say.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to get guidance from you because the item that has been called is actually a motion. And what you received, the 15th.
It's a motion, not a petition. It's a motion.
In your communication.
No, it's a motion. What was delivered was a petition, so we made it into a motion.
So in that circumstance, Madam Speaker, then if it's a motion, we open for members to debate and amend.
You know, members cannot petition the house. It is outsiders who can petition.
I am now lost if because we have clear
You'll
rules.
find, Jonathan,
Madam
you'll find
Speaker,
your way.
Madam Speaker, in our rules. Madam Speaker, in our rules, motions are defined differently from petitions, and the procedures of handling the two are actually distinct. So let's just have that final clarification and then we'll see how.
We have a motion from Karamoja Parliamentary Group in regard to mismanagement or misdiversion of relief items. And they have a privilege, they can present themselves. They don't have to go through another person as a petition. So it is a motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, a motion for a resolution of Parliament to inquire into the alleged mismanagement of relief items under the office of the Prime Minister, Minister of Karamoja Affairs. This motion is moved under our rules, Rule 56 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker, whereas government has since 2002 embarked on successful disarmament programs in the Karamoja region, the situation, however, deteriorated from 2017 owing to the withdrawal of some of the UPDF personnel from the region and subsequent proliferation of illegal arms from the neighboring countries, which has led to increased cattle rustling and insecurity in the sub-region. And whereas climate change in the Karamoja sub-region and heavy locust invasion from 2019 to 2021 led to the local production, driving the sub-region into famine. That, according to the integrated pest classification, is at IPC phase 3 plus, which is defined as a crisis situation. Aware that in a bid to ameliorate the situation in Karamoja, this parliament passed a supplementary budget of Uganda shillings 39 billion to the office of the Prime Minister to support the disarmament process, as well as the coordination of peace building operations, support livelihoods of the Karamoja youth through provision of some relief items as an emergency intervention to improve peace, reduce and eliminate cattle rustling in the region. Further aware that following numerous engagements with the district local governments of Karamoja, the central government, even this parliament, members of parliament in the sub-region, and also the president, it was agreed that goats at a cost of Uganda shillings 22 billion and 100,000 iron sheets at a cost of Uganda shillings 8 billion be procured, while Uganda shillings 800 million be directed to support regional councils, Karamoja Parliamentary Group, Peace Caravan. Noting that owing to the food insecurity situation in Karamoja sub-region, Uganda shillings 135.198 billion was released from the contingency fund in the financial year 2022-23. Following a cabinet directive in Mina 227 of 22 dated 11 July 2022 to support households at the risk of food insecurity in the Karamoja sub-region and other parts of the country. Further noting that Uganda shillings 135.19 billion was earmarked for the purchase of relief items of maize flour and beans for a period of 3 months for an estimated population of 518,000 persons in the sub-region. On instance of that, the First Lady, Honorable Janet Katara, initiated the Karamoja Feed Karamoja project in partnership with Namal Prison Farm in 2014 to feed school children in order to minimize school dropout rates. Further constant that Namalu Prison Farm harvested 3,500 bags of maize in the financial year 2020-21, from which the Minister for Karamoja Affairs recently picked 500 bags to feed UPDF soldiers, contrary to the original purpose of feeding children in the primary schools across the region. Concerned that Uganda shillings 8.2 billion being the balance of the 39 billion supplementary budget funds unaccounted for. And of the 100,000 iron sheets, only 650 iron sheets were distributed in the entire region on the 7th of June 2022, when the president officially launched the distribution of iron sheets and both in Adunget sub-county of Moroto district. Further concerned that less than 35% of the goods that have been distributed to the intended beneficiaries, and in this such as NAPAC, even those that were given there, 70% of those goods died within the first 2 weeks because they were sick. And in Kotido, 80% of the goods that died owing to ill health and failure of the goods to adapt the new environment. Considering that the Minister for Karamoja Affairs has obviously mismanaged the distribution of goods, iron sheets, and maize in the sub-region, and her actions amount to abuse of office, misconduct, misbehavior, corruption, diversion of public resources, and breach of the oath of allegiance and oath of the minister. Now, therefore, it be resolved by this House that Parliament, through the relevant committee, inquires into the alleged mismanagement of relief items in the office of the Prime Minister, and that the Minister of Karamoja Affairs, Honorable Dr. Mary Goretti Kiptum, and the Minister of State for Karamoja Affairs, Honorable Agnes Nadutu, do resign, because we are waiting for them to step aside, do resign to allow proper investigation to the matter. And I'm Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? Seconded by seconded. Seconded by Fox Odoy, by Feta, by Ig, by elders, by the whole house, without ministers. No, they have a responsibility, the collective responsibility. I mean, it is their colleagues. Yes, the seconders. Honorable Nakut, you have a justification? I thought it was self-explanatory. 1 minute.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, words like integrity, honesty, patriotism were actually deleted in this process. We went step by step. On the 22nd of March 2022, Honorable Goretti Kitutu wrote a letter providing guidelines to every chief administrative officer of the 9 districts of Karamoja on how to identify the beneficiaries for these goods and iron sheets. The benefits were clearly defined: older women, vulnerable youth, the Karashunal, the PC committee persons, and there was no such thing as a list of a minister in that list. Madam Speaker, the chief administrative officer of Nabilatu brought back, and I got this, I've been carrying this. Every time we go to, that's why it is that year, moving when I was doing mobilization. That submission of the list, this letter is dated 19th of April 2022 to the Honorable Minister. Submission of the list of beneficiaries for Community Empowerment Program and the Office of the Prime Minister. Reference made your letter dated 22nd March 2022. The District Verification Committee followed all the guidelines specified in your letter through the structure therein in selection and verification of beneficiaries for all the sub-counties specified. The purpose of this communication, therefore, is to submit to your office the aforementioned list for your consideration. And the minister received and acknowledged it and stamped it. If you just open a page, you will see that, for example, on one of the lists that every beneficiary was supposed to be, whether it was an older woman, For example,
Is that information for us?
yes,
If it is
And
for
it-
us,
and
then
had an ID.
lay it on table. If it is for us,
Madam Chair, I laid it on table
what are you laying?
because the
What-
people who, the
What
minister,
are you laying on table?
the list of beneficiaries of one of the districts that's submitted, that's Nabila 2 district.
Please do.
Madam Speaker and colleagues, every beneficiary there had a name, had a category, had an ID number. And the amount of iron sheet, each one was supposed to get 26 iron sheet to build a house. That is 22 for the house and 4 to make a pit latrine. For the goats, each one was supposed to get 10 local goats, East African goats, 5 Gala goats, and 1 back. That's a he goat, a Gala he goat. What we know today is that whereas iron sheets were procured, or the minister distributed this iron sheet to our friends and colleagues in the front bench. And none of those members who got the iron sheets are in the list of the beneficiaries that were initially identified. Madam Chair, this
You know,
has-
I don't want you to accuse people on the front desk.
Yeah.
For one reason, did they ask for them? Let people take their personal responsibilities.
Yes, Madam, I totally agree with you, Madam Chair.
Order.
Madam Chair, this issue is
Can you summarize?
let me conclude, Madam Chair. This matter has irritated the whole country. It has irritated the whole country. It has brought our country and our government to disrepute. It's a matter that this country should be held. This country should be held, and the people who did this must be held responsible. I submit, Madam.
Thank you. The seconder. Let it be seconded first, then you come with your procedural matter.
Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank you
Procedure.
for standing
You
with the
don't switch
people.
on the microphone and start talking. Can we hear from the seconder first?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I wish to thank you for standing with the people of Karamoja and the people of Uganda on this matter. It is a matter that tests our willingness to fight corruption. It also tests how far we can go as a parliament in exercising our job of oversight on the excesses of government. Right Honorable Speaker, the spirit in which this parliament passed the supplementary budget was very good, and I wish to remind us. It was to support the disarmament efforts within Karamoja. At that time, we had complained and had cried in this house that we had lost many people into criminality in Karamoja. Many lives had died. And so, to support the disarmament exercise, we needed some of these supplies to make it easy for the UPDF to collect the guns in Karamoja. So we don't want to lose that background. The intended beneficiaries were mainly the Karachunas, those who were going to give up criminality. Right Honorable Speaker, the office of the Prime Minister went ahead to procure these things in the spirit in which this parliament gave them the money.
Summarize.
Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to highlight a little, something small. On the issue,
Honorable members,
of the
whoever
courts.
will have any issue to raise will go to the committee and present his or her issues.
the office of the Prime Minister supplied goats, and a majority of the goats died. Not only because they were sick, but also because of the way they were supplied without following the normal procedure of holding. As a result, of supplying sick goats. The little goats that our people had, the few that our people had, also got infected and they died. Right Honorable Speaker, last year, I raised in this house a matter of urgent importance when our people were dying of starvation. Right Honorable Speaker, now imagine somebody supplying goats that are sick to destroy the little that our people had. It is true that when you don't have, even the little you have will be taken away from you. That's what has happened, Right Honorable Speaker. As if the damage on the goats was not enough. The minister responsible for Karamoja, the one in charge of this assignment, decided to gift people who were not in the beneficiary list the iron sheets. It was as if she wasn't done with the goats, the malice on the goats of destroying the little livelihood of our people. And now the iron sheets are also not there. Right Honorable Speaker, we appreciate you and this parliament. You have never questioned any amount of money released for anything, any development in Karamoja. You have stood with us all the time. But there are people who will deliberately ensure that they divert that effort and maintain Karamoja in a position of need. This motion that we will use it to restore sanity, to put a message across that when given our office to do, you should use it well, not to abuse it. Right Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Faith. Honorable members, we will not allot time for this debate. We are referring this report to the Committee of Presidential Affairs, and they will report back in 2 weeks' time. We will not debate on this report, as I have said. Yes, next item.
Item 6, motion for adoption of the report of the Select Committee on the state of affairs at the National Social Security Fund.
Honorable members, you'll recall that on the 1st March, can I have order? Honorable Kisa. You've been away, welcome back. Honorable members in the public gallery this afternoon, we have Dr. Machel Fox, a visiting consultant on development of a framework for promoting use of evidence in Parliament. You're most welcome. Please join me in welcoming the visitor. And in the public gallery this afternoon, we have leaders from Buyende District Local Government, represented by Honorable Magogo Moses Hassim, Honorable Choto Ibrahim, and Honorable Nakato Mary. You're most welcome. Join me in welcoming them. Please stand up and wave at your MPs. Honorable members, you recall that on 1st March 2023, the report of the Select Committee on the State of Affairs of NSSF was presented. And I get perturbed when I hear so many people saying, why Select Committee? Why Select Committee? Why did you provide for in the rules? Ask yourself first why you provided for. Everybody who wants to run away from being investigated is saying, why Select Committee? The decision is this house to make, whether it's in a Select Committee or in a normal committee. Take it or leave it. I deferred the debate of this report pending responses from a number of members mentioned in the report. And we also needed to internalize this report further. Therefore, because we have a number of members that were mentioned, we have the honorable members representing the workers. We also had finance. I don't know whether Anita is still standing in for finance. And then we had gender. We'll now receive a response from finance. Then we get from all the other members before we start the debate. But before we do that, could we have a recap? Because we could have forgotten what happened. Can the chairman take us through a summary of what your findings were and what your recommendations are? Chair?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. I am aware that all the honorable members have read this report, so I'll just elaborate briefly on the recommendations and their justifications. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, on Wednesday, 25th January 2023, during the communication from the chair, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament constituted a select committee to investigate the state of affairs at the NSSF. The members were Honorable Mwine Mpaka, Honorable Nantongo Fortunate Rose, Honorable Kanushu Laura, Honorable Kankunda Amos, Honorable Bakabulindi Charles, Honorable Karim Masaba, and lastly, Honorable Kakebo Mike. The terms of reference in executing its mandate, the committee was guided by the following terms of reference to examine the corporate governance structures at the NSSF. This is pages 13 to 18. To examine circumstances surrounding the appointment of the fund's MD. This is pages 18. 31.
Yes, Ethan?
Right Honorable Speaker, as a procedural matter, one of the members who had joined the front seats here was really embarrassing the front bench this side, the Honorable. So we request through you for it to be procedure right. It joins the back seats just this side.
On matters of front desk, it's not free sitting. It's not free sitting. Leave that for opposition ministers.
Thank you, Right Honorable.
Honorable members.
To examine the circumstances.
There is an order behind you. Honorable Kivalia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, you have guided well that matters of front bench are not free sitting.
Front bench
And
is on both sides is for ministers. Front bench on both sides are for ministers. Ministers on the ruling government and on the opposition. Honorable Mpaka, can we go ahead?
The terms of reference in executing its mandate, the committee was guided by the following terms of reference to examine the corporate governance structures at the NSSF fund, pages 13 to 18, to examine the circumstances surrounding the appointment of the fund's MD, pages 18 to 31, to evaluate the status of this and safety of the savers' money in the fund, pages 82 to 136, to examine the extent of stakeholder engagement in the decision-making at the fund, pages 32 to 81, and lastly, to inquire into any other matters incidental thereto, pages 136 to 139. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, allow me to go straight to the recommendations and justify, hoping that all the members had read the report and for the interest of time. Recommendation number 1. The following agreements and memoranda executed between the NSSF and the various entities and individuals without the approval of the Attorney General as required by Article 119 of the Constitution are null and void and should immediately be terminated. A. The Memorandum of Understanding between NSSF and COF2
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, on 14th December, Honorable Dr. Sam Yomoki wrote a letter to the then acting managing director, Mr. Ayota, requesting for money that he said had been allocated to the union, amounting to 300 million. And on 15th December 2022, Mr. Ayota signed an agreement, an MOU, between COF2 and the NSSF fund, giving Mr. Osoke sanitizing the process of giving Dr. Aliomoki the 300 million, and this was done without the approval of the Attorney General. B, memorandum of understanding between NSSF and Ms. Geraldine Salibusurwa, under which NSSF agreed to pay Ms. Geraldine Salibusurwa 1 billion. The committee is aware that the entitlement that Ms. Geraldine Salibusurwa was only 200 million and an interest accruing from the delay in paying the decreed sum. The other entitlement was in terms of costs arising from the various suits which court had awarded her. Honorable members and Right Honorable Speaker, Ms. Geraldine Salibusurwa was illegally, I may say, forced out of office. She went to court. She was awarded 200 million and not the 1 billion she had requested for. Court gave her the 200 million plus an interest of 6% per year. It has now come to the attention of the committee to inform this honorable house that 6 years later, the NSSF board has decided to sit and sign an MOU with her, giving her now 1 billion and an extra cost of the lawyers, contrary to what the court had decided. So the committee is recommending that the MOU between the NSSF and Ms. Geraldine Salibusurwa, under which NSSF agreed to pay her 1 billion, be terminated because it's null and void, and they did not seek the approval of the Attorney General. Recommendation number 2, in order to incorporate best corporate governance practices in the management decision-making and the processes of the board of NSSF, the minister should, before appointing representatives nominated by the employer and employees, ensure that the persons nominated to the board were nominated by a body which is mandated to take such decision in the nominating entity. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, it came to the discovery of the committee that there are 2 members on the board who are illegally nominated, and these members nominated themselves to that board. B, entities represented on the NSF board should not be contracted by the NSF to provide services for or on behalf of NSF in order to avert conflict of interest that arises from such allocations. C, the funds provided by the board of NSF to any other person should be accounted for within 90 days of being dispersed. We discovered during the committee hearings that almost 800 million has been given to the unions and no accountability has ever been received by the people receiving this money. 3, the committee recommends that Parliament should streamline the dual supervision of the fund. It's global best practice to see pension funds as financial institutions and consequently investment vehicles and not labor institutions, as was envisaged during the amendments of the NSSF Act. We strongly recommend that the NSSF Act be amended to give full supervision of the fund. With the Ministry of Finance, we further recommend that the appointment of the Managing Director and Deputy Managing Director should be vested in the Minister responsible for Finance. However, the Minister responsible for Labor will remain with the sole responsibility for the appointment of the board members for checks and balances. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, this recommendation seems to have been misunderstood. The committee is aware that there have been challenges in both finance and gender in the past. We are not recommending to end dual supervision, no. We are trying to streamline the dual supervision. We are providing an alternative. Because in the current scenario, the Ministry of Finance is responsible for investment, yet the Ministry of Gender is responsible for the budget. You cannot separate the two because the investment still has to come under the budget. And this is probably one of the reasons as to why they're having conflicts. The committee is in support of the dual supervision and does not wish to change it, only that the current roles of both the ministers are conflicting and could cause challenges to the fund's operations. The committee also notes that both ministries have had scandals in the past and some even in the present, as elaborated in the report above. On the 7th January 2022, the NSSF Fund Act came into force. The amendments to the Act provided for dual political and technical supervision by the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development and the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. With the latter responsible for investment, this is the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Gender, responsible for the budget. However, the separation of the roles of the ministers suppose that the provisions of the NSF Act were exclusive. A case in point is the separation of the approval of the annual budget estimates by the Minister of Gender from the approval of the investments and declaration of annual interest by the Minister of Finance, and yet these are closely intertwined activities. The committee further notes that where there is supervisory functions of the ministers overlapping, the decision-making function of the board may be delayed, since such a situation for the approval of the ministers must be sought first. If you want to invest in land, you must seek the approval of the Minister for Finance and then go back to the Minister of Gender. So we're just providing for a solution. We are not against your supervision. Recommendation number 4, the committee notes that the write-off of 2.3 billion invested in the West Nile Golf Club is unreasonable, since the board has not taken all reasonable steps to recover it and is therefore in breach of a fiduciary duty imposed on the board by Section 4(3) of the NSF Act. The committee therefore recommends that the board should undertake the necessary steps to protect the savers' interest in the West Nile Golf Course project in Arua. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, while the club was to provide land and create a sublease of 48 years in favor of the joint venture company on the NSSF land, NSF was to finance and carry out the entire project with the exclusion of furnishing. Although the project was completed in 2005 with the fund having sunk in over 2.3 billion as alleged, neither the joint venture company agreement envisaged in 2003 nor any agreement on the future running of the project was ever executed. So this is more or less like NSF carried out a donation. Recommendation number 5, the committee finds no justification for the continued holding of the land title over which Workers' House is established by Tumsime Kavega and company advocates, and therefore recommends that NSSF takes legal action to recover the land title from Alcon and Tumsime Kavega and company advocates with immediate effect. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the committee was concerned that the land upon which Workers' House sits is held by Alcon International Limited, and the land title, is held by Alcon International Limited, and has since refused to surrender it on account of an outstanding balance of 200 billion that the fund owes Alcon International Limited. The physical land title is not held with the NSSF fund. The committee was informed that upon NSF advertising bid notices in the newspapers for the construction of Workers' House, MS Alcon International Limited, a Kenyan-based company, emerged the best evaluated bidder for the project works. It, however, later emerged that the Kenyan company, which emerged as the best evaluated bidder, instead subcontracted a Ugandan company to construct Workers' House. The workers were, however, found to be substandard, prompting NSF to terminate the contract, forcing Alcon to seek arbitration against NSSF. The court ruled against NSF and awarded Alcon International $6 million in arbitration, which forced the fund to seek redress from the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal ruled that the company which built Workers' House was not the owners of the contract, and the company that NSSF contracted did not actually build the Workers' House. The court ruling led to Alcon International winding up operations in Uganda. Therefore, the committee is recommending that since the court ruled that the costs Alcon claims to claim from NSSF for the termination of the contract were illegal, since they also subcontracted another company, NSF should take all necessary measures to recover our land title. Recommendation number 6, the committee recommends for immediate investigation by the IGG with the possibility of prosecution of the following officers involved in the conceptualization and executing the casual transaction which led to the loss of 2.3 billion invested in the West Nile Golf Club, including Mr. Leonard Mpuma, the then MD, Mr. Onek Obel, the then chairman of the board of directors, board members, namely Mr. Egunyu Asemo Fiona Lucy, Mr. George Baitera Matei, Mr. David Nkosho, Mr. Alfonso Oja, Mr. Lemoy Otong, and other members of the board include Alosia Semanda, Mrs. Rosemary N, Mr. Senabulia, Mr. Francis Umihire, Mr. Martin Bandevide, board secretary, and Honorable Zoe Bakoko Bakoru, the then minister responsible for the supervision of the fund, for the possibility of offenses of loss of public property, abuse of office, and causing financial loss contrary to sections 10, 11, and 20 of the Anti-Corruption Act 2009 respectively. During the course of the invitation, the committee obtained information which is available in the parliamentary information system that the land had no title at the time of the award of the contract. NSF has no guarantee
on the land ownership, no rationale for entering into the joint venture, and therefore this could be taken as a donation. At the time of writing this report, the committee established that NSF could not avail the joint venture agreement between NSSF and the registered trustees of West Nile Golf Club, and NSSF has since moved the investment from their investment portfolio, giving further credence that the monies may never be recovered. So they have already written off this project. 7, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the actions of the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, in directing 6 billion to be availed to her ministry amounts to abuse of office, since the minister being the supervisor of NSF without any law empowering her to do so, and knowing that the ministry activities are financed through appropriation, did an act which is prejudicial to the savers funds and the just administration of NSSF. The actions of the minister are arbitrary and an abuse of the duty under the NSSF Act, thereby bringing her conduct within the ambit of the prohibitions under Section 11 of the Anti-Corruption Act on abuse of office. The committee therefore recommends that the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, resigns in public interest to the immediate effect. We further recommend that the President should take keen interest in the Minister's conduct. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, allow me to elaborate more on this matter. Section 29(1) of the NSF Act obligates the board in each financial year to make and submit to the minister for approval the estimates and its income and its capital recurrent and other expenditures likely to be incurred by the board for the next ensuing year. Furthermore, Section 29(2) empowers the minister to approve supplementary estimates to provide for unforeseen or urgently required expenditures on matters not provided in the estimates or necessary additional expenditure on matters provided for in the estimates. In accordance with Section 29(3) of the NSF Act, the minister is required upon receipt of the annual budget to disapprove the budget with such amendments as she may deem necessary. From the import of subsection of Section 29, the committee observes that the role of the board is to budget while that budget is approved by the minister. In undertaking their respective mandates, corporate governance principles require the minister and the board to be independent of each other in carrying out their mandates. However, information available to the committee indicates that there is interference. For instance, the former MD, Mr. Richard Biargoa, intimated to the committee that he was put on undue pressure by Honorable Amongi Ongom, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to include 6 billion in the budget for the financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, this recommendation seems to have been misunderstood. Some people think this is politics. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, it is true the minister has the authority to approve, disapprove the budget with such amendments as she may deem necessary. But the minister has no authority to divert money from the fund to finance activities of the ministry. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we noted that when the budget was sent to the minister for approval, as required in Section 29(2) of the NSSF Act, the minister approved it with a rider to the chairman board of directors to include 6 billion for activities stated in the budget rider by the minister, to include the following priorities. A, undertake the budget monitoring and oversight of the key activities of the fund in the diaspora mobilization. B, development and deployment of an online application for tracking non-compliance of employers. C, strengthening the inspection and compliance of the implementation of the NSSF Fund Act by employers in respect to the contributions. And lastly, enhancing partnerships and collaborations through stakeholder engagements. These stakeholders include, but not limited to, Parliament, the Federation of Employers, Private Sector Foundation, and labor unions. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, if the minister did this in good faith as mandated by her responsibility, she would have written to the board indicating these activities, but she attached a figure which no one knows how she came up with. No one knows the work plan of this 6 billion. For example, how much was going to be spent in stakeholder engagement of this parliament from the savers money. Because there's no work plan, NSF is aware of, neither the board. Where the minister appears to suggest that she did not request for the funds by her ministry, because during the interactions, at one point she denied, she said, I didn't request for this money. The NSSF board, in a letter dated 10th February 2023, addressed to the chairperson, and it's attached Annex U to the chairman of the select committee, confirmed that the minister requested for the funds in question for utilization by her ministry. The letter further indicates that the board did not approve the budget because the activities to back up the requests were not provided. The committee further was informed that the 6 billion was going to fund activities of Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development in the minutes of the meeting held on 14th July 2022 in the boardroom of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Unfortunately, Honorable Matia Kasaija and the Honorable Musas is not here, who are part of this meeting. In the boardroom of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, wherein it was discussed under minute 3, when Hon Matia Kasaija, who chaired, and these minutes are attached in the report, and appendix 5, wherein Honorable Matia Kasaija, who chaired the meeting, cautioned the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development to desist from requesting for funding from the Fund for Line Ministry Activities. Further, in minute 5, all those minutes attached in that report on your iPads. In minute 5, the chairperson of the NSSF board requested the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to appeal to the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development to reconsider the proposed budget without the real allocation of the 6 billion, since it would be hard to account for it. The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija, while appearing before the committee on 2nd February 2023, informed the committee that he disagreed in principle the idea of the fund giving the money to the Ministry of Gender to run its activity, and all our meetings were recorded, and it is also attached. Furthermore, the committee received a collaborative testimony from Mr. Hassan Mudiba, a board member of NSF, who testified that while in a meeting at the Ministry of Finance, Honorable Matia Kasaija vehemently opposed the idea of the Ministry of Gender receiving funding from NSF, thus causing a heated exchange, and the meeting ended prematurely. The Minister of Finance further sought an opinion, Honorable Matia Kasaija, and this appendix is also attached. Further sought an opinion from UPRA, the regulator of NSSF, which in a letter dated 5th July 2022 guided that all monies in the fund belong to its members and should only be used for activities that are directly related to the management of the funds and in the interest of the servers. The committee observes that the conduct of the minister in directing the board to provide for the funding for the activities of the ministry as indicated above, and the subsequent political pressure exerted on Mr. Richard Byarugaba when he refused to provide the said funding not only contravenes the best principles of corporate governance, but also amounts to undue influence on the decision-making process. The committee notes that whereas the minister is empowered to approve the budget with or without amendments, the request for 6 billion interfered with the discretion of the board in the budget process and amounts to abuse of office by the said minister, since the ministry's activities she sought to be funded by the board or to have been funded from the funds appropriated to the ministry by this parliament. The acts of the minister in this case are illegal and appear to contravene section 4.3 of the NSF Act, which obligates that the board should ensure a secure, profitable and effective financial management of the fund for the benefit of the workers in particular. So, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, we are not saying the minister was wrong to redirect, but you cannot take money of the savers of NSF fund to carry out activities in a ministry. The second issue is, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the proposed investment in the Grain Council Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, in a letter dated 7th December 2022, and it's also attached in those annexures, addressed to the chairman of the board of directors of NSF, stated on page 8, estimated overall cost of the fund approximates 40 billion for capitalization of the program. The operational funds would initially come from revolving lines for funding and later retained earnings. If we allocate 15 billion for staff welfare, 222 billion for operations, $1 million for construction of port as corporate social investment, why are we dragging on this contribution of only UGX 20 billion, which is a strategic investment proposed by a senior government official? Is there now firm commitment to from the MD? I need his answer. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, directing the board to invest in the Grain Council Uganda. First of all, investments are initiated by the management through processes. For a minister to direct the board to invest in Grain Council Uganda, which is a not-for-profit organization, just because a senior government official has requested, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, this fund is going to turn into a candy store. If someone can just direct the board to invest in something which there is no evidence that is going to benefit the savers, if this practice is left unchecked, we are going to pose problems to this fund in the future. This is a justification as to why we found the minister in abuse, where the minister claims that the committee, that she had not actually spent this money, because the 6 billion in one of her responses, she said she had not spent this money. But Honorable Speaker and honorable members, if you are caught with a cow that you illegally took, much as you have not yet slaughtered that cow, it doesn't mean you have not stolen the cow. Recommendation number 8. And right, honorable Speaker and honorable members, the only reason the only reason this money has not yet been spent, the 6 billion, is because the IGG in a letter dated 1st February 2023 wrote to Mr. Patrick Ayota freezing National Social Security Fund transactions. On this day, they were in a meeting. The minutes are also attached, planning how to, and the agenda was very clear, how they were going to distribute this money. The IGG was tipped off, and the IGG intervened in that meeting. And all our meetings were recorded. All the meetings at NSF are recorded. We have also attached this recording. This is the only reason this money has not yet been spent. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, recommendation number 8. Whereas the committee appreciates Mr. Richard Byarugaba and the entire management of NSF for their effort in growing the fund from 1.7 trillion in 2010 to 17.3 trillion as at fourth quarter 2022. The committee notes their involvement in the initiation of the 1.8 billion concealed under corporate social responsibility stock investment, where they plan to spend the 1.8 billion as follows: 250 million to the board chairman, 250 million to the minister responsible for labor, 500 million to the board members, and 800 million to the unions, where they justified before the committee that they did it because of pressure from the board members and to make donations as an investment for stakeholders. The committee notes that their justification for succumbing to pressure to commit an illegality is no defense to criminal liability. The committee therefore recommends that the NSF management that participated in the initiation of the 1.8 billion budget for donations, much as they did not participate in the final approval. Mr. Richard Byarugaba, the Deputy MD, Mr. Patrick Ayota, the CFO, Mr. Stephen H. Mwanje, the Head Market Corporate Affairs, Ms. Barbara Arimitedi, should step aside with immediate effect for investigations by the Office of the IGG for the offenses of abuse of office, corruption, conspiracy to commit a felony with a view of immediate prosecution. That one is very self-explanatory. Number 9, the committee notes that the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Stephen H. Mwanje, failed in his responsibility of ensuring that he obtains accountability for monies dispersed to COF2. These are the unions COF2 and NOTU, amounting to 806,525,000 between January 2018 and December 2022. So they have been giving unions money, but they have never asked for accountability. And this is the CFO. The committee further notes that Mr. Mwanje was employed in October 2017 in the position of CFO without being a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, contrary to Section 34(2) of the Accountants Act 2013, which provides that all heads of accounts, finance, and internal audit in the public and private sector entities with public interest shall be members of the Institute in accordance with the regulations made under this Act. The committee therefore notes that the employment of Mr. Stephen H. Mwanje as CFO at NSF in 2017 without being a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants to date was irregular, illegal, and ab initio contrary to the Accountants Act 2013. The committee recommends that the board forthwith terminates his employment with NSSF. In addition, Section 35 of the Accountants Act 2013 provides for the offenses of practicing without a certificate. Section 35(1) states that a person shall not practice accounts in Uganda without a certificate of practice issued under subsection 28 or section 29 of the Accountants Act. Similarly, Section 35(2) states that a person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense and is on the conviction liable to a fine not exceeding 500 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or 10 months or both. The committee recommends that the Office of the DPP prosecutes Mr. H. Stephen Mwanje for the offenses of practicing without a certificate. Recommendation number 10, the committee notes that the two COF2 representatives on NSF board, Dr. Sam Leomoki and Ms. Penna Tukamwesiga, were illegally nominated for appointment by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to the NSF board. The committee recommends that the Minister responsible for labor should write to the COF2 union to recall and legitimately nominate 2 members for appointment in accordance with their constitution. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, these 2 members, while appearing before the committee, the whistleblower informed us that they were illegally on the board. So we did investigations. It came to our understanding, you'll see it in governance, that the 2 members actually forged that they had been nominated in a Zoom meeting. And therefore, the Secretary General, who is Honorable Dr. Sam Lumoki, wrote to the then Minister, Honorable Matia Kasaija, submitting the 2 names, including submitting his own name for appointment on the board. And Honorable Matia Kasaija appointed them on the board, but further, upon hearing of this in the newspapers, the union petitioned Honorable Matia Kasaija, but Honorable Matia Kasaija could not do anything at that time. So he advised them to seek redress in courts of law. So if you read at the back, so we are saying since they were illegally nominated, they should write to the union to recall them, because the nominations of these SEC members in COF2 are done by the SEC of the union, and this meeting didn't take place. Recommendation number 11, the committee notes that the actions of Mr. Geoffrey Sajabi, the head business department, for accepting the deployment of his relatives in the same department he heads, were in contravention of section 322 of the NSF Human Resource Policy Manual, and also contravene section 13 of the Anti-Corruption Act, which creates for offenses of nepotism, which occurs when a person being a holder of an office does an act in contrary with the office, in connection, with the office for the purpose of doing favors to any person on the basis of blood relations between that person and the other persons. The committee further observes that Mr. Sajabi was appointed head business at NSF when he did not have the required qualifications of a master's degree. Therefore, rendering his appointment was as illegal ab initio. The committee recommends that NSF board terminates his employment with immediate effect. The committee further recommends that the IG investigates all departments at NSSF to establish if there are similar occurrences at NSSF. Right, Honorable Speaker, recommendation number 12. The committee notes that the 2 former board members, Mr. Julius Bahemuka and Mr. Fred Bamwesije, upon resignation were paid an exit package. Resignation is voluntary and is exercised pursuant of the inherent freedom of an employee to contract. Once the members of the board decided to voluntarily resign, resignation did not give them any benefits whatsoever, including compensation, because they did not suffer any wrongs, which is being atoned for by compensation. It should be noted that under the Contracts Act 2010, compensation is only available if a party rescinds the contract under section 63 or any circumstances arise that lead to the breach of contract. Since there is no breach of contract on the part of NSF or the minister, and the members of the board decided to resign on their own volition, they were not entitled to compensation. The grant of compensation to the resigning members of the board is therefore illegal and unjustifiable. It represents wastage of funds by the NSF in contravention of section 44 of the NSSF Act. The committee therefore recommends that the board members, to wit, Mr. Peter Chimbowa, Mr. Patrick Ochaila, Mr. Agre Chivenge, Ms. Penny Natukamwesiga, Dr. Sam Lyomoki, Mr. Julius Bahemuka, Mr. Hassan Lwabai Mudiba, Mr. Fred Bamwesije, and Engineer Silva Mujisha, who participated in the conceptualization and approval of the said payments, should collectively refund the monies to the Savers Fund within 7 working days from the date of adoption of this report. Failure to refund, they should face prosecution by the office of the DPP for causing financial loss to the fund. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we discovered that 2 board members resigned, were told to resign, and they resigned, and the board compensated them with an amount of money amounting to 600, and it's about 600. Unfortunately, it is a summary, but it's about 600 million. But the law does not provide for someone who has resigned to be compensated. So we are saying all those who participated in this decision should collectively refund this money to the NSSF fund. Recommendation number 13. The committee recommends that the Auditor General should conduct a value for money audit on the following projects: the War Housing Project, the NSF Pension Towers, Yusuf Lule land, Temango land that were undertaken by NSF. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, Honorable Minister Betty Amongi Ongom, while appearing before the committee, presented a letter dated 7th December 2022, where she claimed, or where it alleged, that the then MD, Mr. Richard Biarugawa, was receiving commissions. However, when the minister appeared before the committee, she did not provide evidence, but we thought to cater for all this, the Auditor General should do a value for money audit on these projects. 14, the committee recommends that the following unions, COP2, NOTU, which and NOTU should refund 806 million they illegally received from NSF, specifically Catch of Violet, who withdrew 461 million 552,000 from the account number 100100395423 on behalf of NOTU, Honorable Sam Liomoki, who withdrew 295 million from account number 0100462773 on behalf of NOTU, on behalf of COF2, sorry, and the one Joseph Mbabas who withdrew 50 million from the same account on 2nd September 2020 on behalf of COF2. Within 7 working days, they should return this money or face prosecution by the office of the DPP. These people are receiving money from NSSF and they were withdrawing it without accountability. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, recommendation number 15. The committee notes that the board expenses grew by 90% and the director's expenses grew by 51% between 2021-2022, while research and library expenses have grown by 107%. Between 2020 and 2021, UGX 33.3 billion bonus paid to the staff. NSF has gave this bonus to 500 staff, and they are giving this money to the staff every year. And there's no criteria under which we know it's best corporate governance to give these bonuses, but there's no criteria under which they're giving these bonuses. Every year it's increasing by over 1 billion to share. The first year it was 16.6, the second year is now 17.8. They are just giving these staff bonuses. It is okay, but what criteria are you using? Is it based on performance? Why are you giving these people this money? And so the committee recommends the 200 million for 85 staff team building in Dubai. The committee recommends that the board should be cognizant.
Clark, can I have that mic out of that place? It's creating some echo.
The committee recommends that the board should be cognizant of their core responsibility, which is to ensure a secure, profitable, and effective financial management for the benefit of the workers, while appropriating funds for the operational costs of NSF budget, and therefore desist from such unnecessary expenditure, which will occasion loss to the savers fund. Recommendation number 16, the committee notes that in the financial year 2022-2023, the board resolved in its meeting held on Tuesday, 20th September 2020, to adopt an audit training for 4 workers representatives on the board to enhance their audit skills in Arusha, of which the budget for this session was obtained from the unallocated funds worth 200 million. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the unallocated funds are in an account called the suspense account. So we are wondering if you can withdraw money from this suspense account. This is money that belongs to people who have not claimed it, people who passed away. It's basically unallocated money. And this is the same account one of the staff recently has been convicted, Mr. Soka, of withdrawing 150 million illegally. In fact, if any money is leaving NSSF right now, it is leaving NSSF through this suspense account, and later they are doing creative accounting. So we are recommending that the committee finds that an irregular diversion of the funds from the suspense account, which as at 30th June 2020 had 57 billion, the committee recommends that the Auditor General carries out a forensic audit on all transactions on the suspense account for the past 5 years and reports back to Parliament within 60 days of adoption of this report. 17, the committee notes that the NSF internal audit report for the financial year 2015 featured a stock of penalties amounting to 31 billion that arose from the non-compliance in remittance of NSF contribution to the fund. However, the MD, Mr. Richard Biarugab, wrote off all the above penalties, whereas Section 14(2) of the NSF Act gives the managing director the authority to do so. The committee recommends that the amendment of this act be done, provide for parameters within which the discretion can be exercised in waiving penalties to avoid abuse of authority for personal gain. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, you read in the report, they waived off even penalties of, for example, housing finance worth 1.5 billion. One wonders how housing finance, a bank, failed to pay their workers NSSF contribution and accrued interest, a penalty of 1.5 billion and was waived too. So we think this waiving off would have been actually mismanaged. So we are saying we should amend to avoid people from abusing the authority for personal gain. Recommendation number 18, the committee notes that it was erroneous for NSF to extend an unsecured loan of 11 billion to Uganda Clays Limited in 2010 without conducting due diligence on its creditworthiness, which accrued interest of 13.26 billion, totaling to 20.221 billion. The committee further notes that the principal and interest was mysteriously capped at 20.592 billion in 2016. We know this money of the saver is supposed to accrue interest every year, but this time they mysteriously capped it in 2016, not to accrue any more interest. Mysteriously capped at 20.592 billion in 2016 by the board, therefore putting the savers' money at risk because Uganda Clays Limited to date has only paid 221.4 million as of 2023. 221.4 million as of 2023 of the 24.221 billion. The committee comments that the current management should take all necessary legal action which with immediate effect to have the loan secured and paid. Recommendation number 19. The committee notes that UBRA carried out only 3 site inspections of NSF since their establishment in 2011. And you know UBRA at one point was receiving 6 billion per year from NSF. Has carried out only 3 site inspections of NSF since their establishment in 2011, with their latest being in 2020, whereas UBRA Act does not mandate them to conduct annual site inspections of NSF as a regulator. The committee comments that UBRA carries out annual site inspections to ensure compliance. Recommendation number 22. The committee notes that the board members have been illegally receiving NSF contribution of 10% because there exists no employee-employee relationship between the board members and NSF to warrant such contributions. The committee further notes that such contributions were not provided as a benefit of a member of the board is entitled to under the board charter, making such contributions illegal. The members who have been receiving the 10%, the table below shows all the members. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members. The committee recommends that the above NSF board members who have been receiving the money should refund it within 7 working days for first prosecution by the office of the DPP. The total amount of money is 610,770,513. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members. This one was a bit contentious because we have our honorable colleagues also implicated. However, and they have said we did not give them a fair hearing. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members. Oxodoy versus Attorney General Constitutional Petition number 54 of 2013. The right to a fair hearing. The right to a fair hearing is only subject to the opportunity to be heard. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, the opportunity to be heard was given to the board because the other members were beneficiaries of the board decision. So the opportunity to be heard was given to the board. The board appeared before the committee and the board gave us information and also actually accepted, and it's also recorded, that this was illegal. And Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, if this was mandatory for all the board members to receive this 10% contribution, how come in the current board, Mr. Patrick Ochailap and Mr. Chimbowa refused to get this 10%? How come the rest have been getting and yet they refuse? So Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, we actually gave them a right to fair hearing. We gave the board the right to a fair hearing. The other members are just beneficiaries of the decision of the board. Number 2, Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, these assignments were given are very controversial. Had we excluded our honorable colleagues, this report would be challenged for having bias, well aware that they actually received this money. These are our colleagues. Some of them sit on my sectoral committee. But the work we perform is in the interest of this parliament, protect the integrity of this parliament. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, recommendation number 21. The committee recommends that a lifestyle audit be done by the IGG on all officers of the compliance department because there are inconsistencies in their internal audit of companies that have been defaulting and the total contributions to NSS compared to pay URI. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, if you read the report, the number of workers submitting pay, for example, for a certain company, are more than the number of workers submitting to NSSF of that particular company. So we are recommending that an internal audit, that the lifestyle audit be done by the office of the IGG because we have reason to believe they are getting kickbacks. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, recommendation number 22. The committee notes that there are various claims of ownership of the Lubowa land NSF purchased, and in a letter by the former MD, Mr. Richard Byarugaba, to the then ISO Director General, Kano Kaka Bajenda, he acknowledged NSF having unauthenticated land titles from Micho Courts Uganda Limited, and they were waiting for the true owner now to compensate him. Furthermore, the acting managing director, Mr. Patrick Ayota, informed the committee that there are actually various titles claiming the same land NSF purchased. The committee comments that NSF holds further investment on the Lubowa land and expedites the process of formalization of the true ownership of the Lubowa land. Recommendation number 23, the committee comments that the IG should investigate with a view of prosecution Mr. William Okabo, Mr. Daniel Batekereza, Ms. Joanita Asio, Mr. Chansemile Liki, Mr. Brian Ndimwewa, involved in the compensation, procurement, and installation of the geomapping system, which caused financial loss of 748,861,115 shillings, Ugandan shillings. The details of the geomapping are in the report. People invested in a system. A few months later, the system can't work. And this is the money they spent. All the details are there. Recommendation number 24. The committee recommends the prosecution of all officers of NSF board, all officers and NSF board members involved in the creation and transaction of Victoria Property Developments Limited, proposing financial loss of $2 million and abuse of office contrary to Section 20 and 11 of the Anti-Corruption Act 2019. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I talked about this Victoria Property Developments Limited. NSF, to avoid litigation, set up a company known as PDL. PDL was like their investment arm. PDL entered a joint venture with a company known as SPL to set up this joint venture of Victoria Property Limited. This joint venture was to construct houses in Bo, and they extended a loan of 1 million, $1 billion, sorry. They extended a loan of 1 million. It was $1 million through this joint venture to Victoria Property Holdings, and Victoria Property Holdings gave this matter to SPL. Now, a few months later, the Attorney General declared this transaction illegal because they are not sought the Attorney General's approval. Now, what they do, they terminate all the joint ventures and the money disappears. Now, in that joint venture, we created the Honorable Oneki Obel had 0.01 shares. That company and NSF had 99 the balance that come. And so we are saying all these officers should be prosecuted because they need to explain where this money went. The $2 million now it has accrued interest. Recommendation number 25, the committee recommends that the IG should conduct a lifestyle audit on the former MD, Mr. Richard Byarugaba, the Deputy Managing Director, Mr. Patrick Ayota, the Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Gerard Paul Kasato, the Chief Commercial Officer, Mr. Patrick Sajabi, the Technology and Enterprise Solution, Mr. Benon Nikatende, Chief People and Culture Officer, Mr. Milton Owori, Chief Risk Officer, all those officers named there. The reason to this is to clear, because the minister, while appearing before the committee, much as she didn't provide evidence to support the allegations in her letter dated 7 December of 2023, wherein the former MD was accused of collecting various commissions from the different NSF investments, the committee found that all investments are approved by the management committee, and all these members sit on the management committee. So if there are any cuts, all these people are involved. Therefore, the best alternative to establish if these were indeed getting kickbacks is through a lifestyle audit, which is the process of tests performed on a person's financial information to determine if the person's lifestyle corresponds with his or her known source of income. Number 26, and the second last, the committee recommends that NSF should construct affordable accommodation for the savers to purchase and pay partly from their savings, as opposed to the Lubowa houses, which cost between 800 million and 3 billion, and are not too expensive, but are not only too expensive, but could also cause loss to the fund in circumstances where they are not occupied, as is the case now, where out of 300 units, only 3 properties have been paid. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee recommends that the IGG should investigate all persons who are involved in the smart card project, customer self-service touchpad, which caused financial loss of 2.6 billion and 133 million respectively with a view of prosecution. These include those officers. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, NSF management decided to invest in a project, the smart card project. They were to give you a card where you go to a bank, put that card and see your balance. But they didn't take into consideration that banks probably would not allow them to use that card in their ATMs. Two, for you to use that card to access your balance, you must be charged a certain cost. All these were not taken into account. After 1 month, they abandoned the smart card project. They had spent a lot of money on flights to go and visit this company in India, benchmarking and the rest. The customer self, the touchpad that they spent on 133 million. They envisaged that they were going to buy machines, put them in a supermarket where you keep checking your balance and you get points to do shopping. It was impossible. Right now, these machines are in their stores. A month after they invested all this money, benchmarking, awarding contracts, they abandoned the project. No action has ever been taken against the members. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the last one, the committee notes that the board has failed on several occasions, as seen in the report, to ensure that there is a secure, profitable and effective financial management of the fund for the benefit of the workers in particular and the country at large, as stipulated in Section 4 of the NSF Act. The committee therefore recommends that the 12th NSF board be dissolved by the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, with immediate effect, and the new board constituted. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, some people thought this was a mistake. No, this was not a mistake. Dissolution is an action. Resignation is a process. Resignation cannot happen immediately. You must notify your appointing authority, you write the letter, then you carry out any transitional requirements. So this was not a mistake. We actually knew what we were saying. So Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, those are the recommendations. However, there was a matter, a term of reference to inquire into any other matters incidental thereto. Aware that honorable members may not have read this. The committee during the investigations received a petition from Mr. Richard Job Matua. However, he was required to establish the source of his evidence, supporting the allegations in his petition. Mr. Richard Job Matua informed the committee that he had written a letter to the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development on 14th December 2022. In his letter, he requested for the several documents in accordance to the Access to Information Act 2005. And he was right. The documents are petition regarding NSF management from COF2, latest set of affairs, report at NSF, and those other documents. The Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, in her response letter, in a letter dated 15th, the day after, indicated that the documents requested were petitions from other people, which she was forwarding as confidential documents. The minister further indicated that the one for the retirement of the MD and DMD were attached for his perusal as confidential documents. There were also unconfirmed reports on social media that Mr. Richard Job Matua, while appearing on a radio talk show, Capital Gang, had been dropped in the minister's official car. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, with the help of the CID, we discovered this was false. We looked at the CCTV footage of police around Chisibinti, the CCTV footage of Capital FM, and we see Mr. Richard Job Matua appearing in a suit, holding a file and not being dropped by the minister as stated. However, the committee was availed by WhatsApp screenshots between Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom and Mr. Richard Matua, when the committee on 10th February 2023 interfaced with the minister, and this is also recorded because all our meetings were recorded. When the committee on 10th February 2023 interfaced with the minister, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, they said screenshots of the said WhatsApp chat of the conversation between her and Mr. Richard Job Matua were shown to her. She neither confirmed nor denied. The chats between the minister and Mr. Richard Job Matua was available to the committee as follows. Honorable Minister Betty Amongi Amongi, but I told him before I commissioned the investigation to write to me and withdraw his interest so that I don't investigate him. He refused. He was misadvised. Mr. Richard Matua responding, the man is at home and not even talking on phone, but his relatives are terrified and panicking. All attempts now are to save his skin. The reason as to why you see lots of websites and people defending him online, we have to re-strategize. I beg you to mobilize our team and secure a fair amount of money for us to fight the last serious lane of the battle. response by the Honorable Minister. Let them come to me. He withdraws his interest. I talk to Jen. I don't know if this is general. I talk to Jen to discontinue the investigation. He goes, okay. However, when the committee of CID interrogated Mr. Richard Job Matua, he accepted the WhatsApp chats was between him and the Minister Betty Among Yongom, recorded a statement and signed a statement at Parliament Police on 13th February 2023 at 12:14 p.m., wherein on page 4, the statement, he accepted knowledge and origin of the WhatsApp conversation at 1:50 p.m. between him and the Minister. The versions of the committee, I think you can observe. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Bakamwine, for the report. Can we now hear from the Minister of Finance? Honorable Kasaija has sent a written response. What was raised about him? Honorable Minister? Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. In this case, I'm the messenger. Please do not butcher the messenger. Do listen to the message from Honorable Matia Kasaija. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, I thank you and the Select Committee of Parliament on the National Social Security Fund for the support and the manner in which they have handled and cross-examined and the cross-examinations. The NSSF is a financial institution with heavy fixed income investments of up to 78% of the fund's portfolio in both domestic and regional markets. I believe it's this debate on the report will reveal the confidence of savers in NSSF. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, I now summarize my comments and draw your specific attention to the observations and recommendations of the committee report on page 67 and page 139 to page 150 respectively. Observations. Number 6, 3, and 7 on page 67. Response. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the Permanent Secretary and Secretary Treasury, the PSST, in various acts is the board member of the, for example, in NSSF, BOU, UBRA, URA, and other institutions. The PSST personally attends the meetings of BOU and URA for better coordination of the monetary policy and revenue utilization in order to promote administration and managerial efficiency. It delegates suitable qualified senior staff on their competence to the boards who regularly report to him. The PSST and Secretary of Treasury delegated the Deputy Secretary of Treasury to handle this responsibility on his behalf of the board of NSSF. Recommendation number 1 on page 139. Honorable Matia responds as follows. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. My ministry agrees with the recommendations of the committee that the signing of various memorandum without the approval of the Attorney General is irregular. However, when this matter was of paying Ms. Geraldine Sally came before the NSSF board, according to the board minutes, this payment was owed. Therefore, there was no financial loss caused. Recommendation number 2, A, B, C, on page 140. Honorable Matia response. The ministry agrees with the whole recommendations of the committee in this regard. I therefore once again thank the Select Committee of Parliament on the National Social Security Fund for this wonderful report. Recommendation number 3 on page 140. I agree that the full supervision of the fund should be streamlined back to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, as was recommended by His Excellency the President during the amendments to the NSSF Act. The ministry had similar recommendations at various stages of the approval of the amendments of the bill. The responsibility for appointing of the board members should also remain with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development with the approval of cabinet, as is the case for all the other MDAs. Recommendation number 5 on page 141. The minister responds as follows. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the board made attempts to recover this land, the line title through court. Court ruled in favor of NSSF, but Alcon and Sime, Kabega and 4 advocates did not hand over the title. Therefore, court granted permission with instructions for Ministry of Lands to cancel the old title and process a fresh title for the workers' house in the names of NSSF. This is being pursued by NSSF. Recommendation number 7 on page 141. Minister responds as follows. Right Honorable Speaker, the request for the 6 billion by my colleague, Honorable Betty Amon, is irregular. For the 10 years that NSSF was directly supervised by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, this scenario did not occur. It will not occur even when this is returned to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Activities of the ministries should be, according to Honorable Matiaka Saija, activities of the ministries should be financed from the consolidated fund through appropriation by Parliament. I agree with him. Recommendation number 10 on page 141. Response. Right,
Anita
Honorable
is the one I agree with him, part of the report.
No. The messenger is trying to say the message is okay. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Let
On the
her
response-
finish her report, then you bring your issues. You are going to debate these reports. Let her finish.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. A petition against the appointment of Dr. Sam Jumoki and Ms. Penina Mwesiga was received at my office 2 days after I had already appointed the 2 persons on NSSF board. The appointment followed the rigorous process of fit and proper assessment by the sector regulator. The Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, UBRA, I could not have known the irregularities of the nominees since they are internal dealings of cost. Recommendation number 12 on page 141. The minister responds. According to the records available, these 2 members did not retire voluntarily, but the environment created forced them to do so. In the interests of introducing more female members to the board, the Honorable Betty Among, the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, requested to
Anita,
replace-
she's called Amongi, not Among.
This is very distinct. I know they are. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Amongi. The Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development requested to replace at least 2 female members with female members from the same constituencies. Since their negotiated resignation was to pave way for the female representatives. They demanded for same from some form of consideration in lieu of the circumstances surrounding their resignation. This followed 2 meetings as shown in attached annexes 1 and 2. The board made their recommendations to the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Honorable Minister Betty Amongi, and it was up to her to accept the recommendations, reject it altogether, or provide an alternative. Therefore, the 2 former board members were granted this compensation following the guidance of the meeting chaired by Honorable Minister Betty. You can see Annex 1 for that. The board has no powers to appoint or remove or specify terms of either actions on board members. Recommendation number 13 on page 145. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, Honorable Chair responds that the Office of the Auditor General has already begun conducting the value for money audit on these projects. Recommendations number 26 on page 149. Minister responds. As a matter of good governance practice, NSSF investment will continue to be guided by the investment policy of the funder under the different asset classes. The fund shared this investment policy with the committee. In conclusion, the Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, Honorable Matia responds that the 12 board has made in place for 1.5 years. Most of these issues cited by the committee that were causing weaknesses in governance predated the appointment of the current board. Since its inauguration, the 12th board has been preoccupied with the transition from the old law to the new law. Therefore, this matter needs to be discussed in light of the above. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, I beg to move on behalf of Right Honorable Matia Kasaija, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honorable Anita. You've got the report from Honorable Kasaija. Honorable Betty's report was also uploaded. It's on your computers. She will come and present it. Can we hear from our three colleagues? Honorable Agnes, Honorable Mugole, and then Honorable Werike. They have one report that combines all of them. Then there is a separate one of Honorable Kunihira. It was also uploaded. It must be on your accounts.
Right Honorable Speaker and members. I'm here to make personal statement on behalf of myself and that of Honorable Erika Peter and Honorable Boy here.
Go ahead and read the report. Stephen,
Yes.
it is not a personal statement. It is your joint statement.
Yeah, joint statement.
Because
Joint statement.
why don't you read the report as it is?
Joint statement. Joint statement. So this is that on 25th January.
Yes, Dr.
Honorable Speaker, I'm very much constrained to raise this procedure issue. But because we stand here to create precedents that bind us today and tomorrow.
Just a minute before you bring the procedure matter. Why wouldn't you come and make your statement? Werike comes and Kunihira. Much as you are all lumped up in one recommendation, each of you was mentioned individually.
Right, Honorable Speaker, if there is any pride that a teacher would take, is seeing their students excel at what they do. You have my notes. There is no provision in our rules for joint statements. If you want to make a personal statement, it can only be personal. That to you. That was my point.
Thank you so much, Council. You are mentioned in one recommendation, but each of you should make a presentation.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you for the guidance. So this is a personal statement in respect of the report of the Select Committee on Parliament on the state of affairs.
By the way, you're personal. You don't
Yes.
need to say it's a personal statement because we cannot debate on a personal statement. Read, this is a statement on APCT.
This is a statement in respect of the report of the Select Committee of Parliament on the state of affairs of NSSF presented before the House on 1st March 2023. That on 25th January 2023, Parliament set up a select committee to investigate into the state of affairs of National Social Security Fund, and indeed on 1st March 2023, the chairperson of the committee, Honorable Pakamwine, also by chairperson of the Committee on Trade, Tourism and Industry, presented the said report before the House for debate and adoption. On pages 147 and 148 of the impugned report,
The chairman
name-
of the committee, Honorable Pakamwine, presented the report on behalf of the committee.
yes,
It was not his personal report.
guidance. On pages 147 and 148 of the impugned report, my name was mentioned as those who benefited from the 10% NSSF illegal contributions, and therefore the committee recommended that, and I quote, the committee recommends that the above NSSF board members who have been receiving the money should refund it within 7 days, 7 working days, or face prosecution by the office of the DP. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the right to be heard is well enshrined in Article 28, 42, and 43C of the Constitution 1995. And it is non-derogable. We were condemned, or I was condemned and heard by the committee. I was never invited to appear before the committee to substantiate on the allegations of illegally receiving 10% NSSF. Whereas I was large, number 5 and the sitting member of Parliament. The right to be heard means that a person must appear before an impartial tribunal, in this case, the committee, before it proceeds to render an adverse recommendation like this. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, had the committee been invited, or had the committee invited me as part of according me a fair hearing, I would have been able, among others, to state and report. Appointment to the NSSF board. I am Mugolebo David Stephen. I was appointed to the board of NSSF by Honorable Minister of Finance on April 14, 2019 for a board term of 3 years. I consider I didn't even conclude that term because when I came to Parliament, I resigned from that position. The said appointment are designed, or it is designed in the same language as stated, and stated the remunerations as per the board terms and conditions of engagement. And I would like to lay on the table a copy of the appointment and my acceptance letter. I think. Therefore, as part of, and that was part of my engagement. And the issue of 10% and 5% was to be deducted from my emolument as an entitlement. And I also here, by lay on table, I beg, lay an instrument from the board that gives the entitlement to me as a member of the board, and which is always verified by UBRA,
The instrument is signed by whom?
by the Corporation Secretary of
Dated,
NSS,
dated when?
dated. This is a sample. This is a sample because it's given every.
I am saying dated when?
This one is dated. I've given a sample one with the most recent, which is of September 2021.
Dated when?
September 2021.
Chair, Honorable Speaker, procedural. I would wait, is it procedural right for us to start laying samples? Because there must be, for you to have a sample, there must be original. Yeah, I've never seen us playing samples here, but it should be.
It is a circular. It is the circular which is given.
The one which was given to you would be much better if you
Is a circular addressed to you?
Yes, to all board members. Uh,
Uh,
also,
the circular is not addressed to you as a person. Yes, it is addressed to the 12th body of directors of NSSF. So this document is for everybody, not for you.
Yeah.
Stephen. Are you a board member of the 12th
I was
board
of
of
the 11th board.
directors?
I was of the 11th board.
But why are you laying what is not meant for you? So you take back your document. We can take the one which was signed by Anite, appointment as a board member.
Yeah, and I'll lay that with you.
There is
That
a
one will be
procedure matter here. So you retract the document from the record first. First retract your document.
I retract this one and I will with
What are you
time,
retracting?
I am retracting the one of 3rd September 2021 and I will provide.
And what is it?
This one is an instrument from the board which gives this as an entitlement.
Right, Honourable Speaker, the procedural issue I seek to raise, reading from the preamble of the presentation by our own colleague, it's as if his claim is that he was not heard.
There are two issues. Was he paid? Did he receive the money? And then the other one is a defense. As much as I received the money, you did not hear me. First of all, the question we should ask is, were you paid? That should be the first thing. Let him first finish his submission. Then we can now go when we are debating. You'll ask your questions.
Right, Honourable Speaker and members. Under minute 1, of 187.9 of the NSSF.
Actually, what we are doing now is hearing the member. Because this is an extension of the committee. So we are giving him now fair hearing. So we will make a decision from this house on what the committee has recommended.
Right, Honourable Speaker and members. Under minute 1 of 187.9 of NSSF on standard contributions and entitlement, dated 2nd August 2011, that introduced the impugned deductions and entitlement to all members of the board who were not public servants and who were not above 55 years of age. It did it as an entitlement. So as and when you go to NSSF, you are given that as an entitlement. That's part of the package. I also hereby lay on table, I beg, lay the minute, the adoption, the minute as it was adopted and the recommendation of the 11th, of 2011. So by the time I joined NSSF in 2019, this had started in 2011.
As a procedure matter.
Right, Honourable Speaker. The member is being heard on the merits of his arguments. And the documents is referring to, he saying it's laying it. Ordinarily, when a document is laid here, it goes to the library and members have to access it. And yet we're about to debate. I want to move that the member reads all the documents word for word that is presenting to us here to allow members make a fair judgment of what is presenting. For example, if he mentions that under a particular minute, it was agreed that all members of the board should contribute to NSSF, he should be able to refer to that particular clause in the minutes so that we can follow and then we can debate.
Please go ahead.
Right, Honourable Speaker. if I may refer to the minutes of the board that sat on 2nd August 2011 that introduced this as an entitlement to the board, which is uploaded, I suppose. It says in 1879, NSSF standard contribution for directors informed the 3 directors who were eligible to pay NSSF standard contribution, namely Mrs. Yole Aripa Kirabo, Mr. Romano Ojambo Ocheng, and Mr. Richard Bigiru. And the second minute says, noted that with the effect from May 2011, 5% employee contributions were being deducted from the emoluments of the 3 directors, while the fund was meeting the employer's 10% contribution. So by the time I joined the board in 2019, this was ongoing. Right Honorable Speaker and members, the right to be heard means that a person must appear before an impartial tribunal, in this case the committee, before it proceeds to render such an adverse recommendation. Right Honorable Speaker, had the committee invited us, or invited me, I think they would have not come up with such recommendation. Committee recommendation. Committee recommendation. The recommendation, therefore, that all board members who received and continue to receive the 10% as part of their entitlement is an illegality, was arrived at in contravention of rules of natural justice. And the committee afforded us that opportunity, the committee would not be able to make such disparaging recommendations against me without being heard. Right Honorable Speaker, taxpayers' money has been expended on committee work, and their reports have been quashed by courts of law. There is a long list of decided court cases which have rendered committee work worthless. For instance, Mohammed Al-Bai versus Attorney General, miscellaneous code number 217 of 2021, the High Court quashed the COSAS report on expropriated properties on grounds, among others, proceeding propriety, which includes
Honorable
failure
members, some order.
to accord a witness fair hearing. In other court cases like that of Honorable Joseph Murangira versus Attorney General, Constitutional Court Petition number 7 of 2014, Twino Businje Severino versus Attorney General, Constitutional Petition number 47 of 2011, the Constitutional Court declared null and void
Yes, Dr. Pe.
parliamentary committee reports for control.
He's finishing. Let him finish. You're going to disorganize him.
It's a small clarification.
Let him finish, then you make a clarification.
We need to preserve the integrity of this report by expunging our names from the report before Parliament adopts it. Otherwise, it's susceptible to being challenged before courts of law on grounds of not affording me a fair hearing. I thank you.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, don't scare anybody. Don't scare anybody. Anybody is free to go and get redress from court. We are talking about savers' money. Did you get the money? And we are giving you a fair hearing now. We are giving you a fair hearing now, Stephen. And I want to refer you back to minute 187.9. NSSF standard contribution for directors. Informed that 3 directors were eligible to pay NSSF standard contribution, namely Jolly Aripa, Kiravo, Mr. Romanio, Ojambo, Ocheng, and Mr. Richard Begirwa. Is any of you one of them? That is one. Maybe before we go further, let's look at recommendation 6. I would suggest we expunge recommendation 6. First of all, some of them have died. Fiona used to be my woman member of parliament. Egunyo,
I suggest, and I take your guidance. I think it's a movement in the right direction. My suggestion, however, for procedural neatness is to hear them first, discuss the merits, propriety or otherwise of the entire action. For example, if we found that the deceased had taken our money illegally, can go and pick the money from the estate. But we may also preempt and at the end of the day find that it was appropriate.
first study that recommendation and your advice.
I
study
am
it.
alive with your permission. Right, to speak. My view is that let's hear them and they tell their stories. Then we start.
It is actually not related to our members' recommendations. Onegi, who?
Yeah.
Those ones. So can we first hear from the second one? Honorable Werike, Honorable Kunihira. We will allow a debate on this. Members, calm down.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Segona and study 6.
I'm making my response in regard with the findings of the committee, which made this report on 1st of March. Right Honorable Speaker, mine is on matter of natural justice and fair hearing. That whereas we participated in forming up this committee, I definitely knew that if there would be an issue that would come out, the committee would definitely want to get clarity and make this report well. But I missed that opportunity when they did that. So I was not able to raise some of these issues, which I would want to say now. On the issue of appointment, Right Honorable Speaker, I was appointed on 4th February 2019, which I would like to lay. And that letter spells out that the minister shall make a remuneration for the board member who is being appointed. And in addition, before you finally get to sit on the board, again, you are supposed to be licensed by the regulator, UPRA. And this regulator is given these documents. I would like also to submit that the process.
Procedure,
like
Madam
to-
Speaker.
What are you doing on table?
Procedure,
Right Honorable Speaker,
procedure. Madam
that
Speaker.
after receiving the appointment, you go through UPRA to get a license as a trustee. And on 3rd of May, after receiving my appointment letter, on 4th of April, on 3rd of May, 2019, I received the letter from UPRA. From the corporation secretary notifying me about UPRA. It states, we are here in the process of applying for your
The
trust
letter was addressed to who?
to Werika Kostova.
Okay.
We are here in the process of applying for your trustee license to ensure compliance with the UPRA Act as per the process. We have completed the application forms on your behalf and now require you to append your signature on the application forms and statutory declaration subject to any other corrections signed by the corporation secretary.
all these documents goes with the remunerations that have been granted by the minister. So, Right Honorable Speaker, what am I saying on this letter? It's UBRA is our regulator, goes through this process of governance. And the Honorable Minister who appointed me as Minister of Finance, I am actually surprised that in the response, the Honorable Minister is jumping to respond on these sections. And yet is the one who appointed us
Procedure, Madam.
and gave us.
When Honorable
Madam
Minister,
Speaker.
you're the one who appointed them, You
So
respond.
there was a skip
But
on
procedural matter,
on
Madam
the
Speaker.
enumeration.
No, let's first hear from the minister. You sit down when your minister is.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, at the time of appointing the honorable members, I was holding court as on behalf of Honorable Machaka Saija, as you have seen on the letter, the appointment letter that she's laid on table. However, we appointed him strictly to go and perform his duty, not to encroach on the servants.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Erike. Honorable members, what is on the appointment letter? They're entitled to sitting allowance for every meeting of the board, a monthly retainer, and unappropriate duty facilitation allowance for local and foreign travels. All duly approved rates. All at duly approved rates. That is what is on the appointment letter. Can you continue? Let him finish.
On the entitlement of 10%, Right Honorable Right Honorable Speaker, this was a resolution made by the area board, which the following posts who are going there were just receiving. I was not have any meeting in a party that decided that I should earn 10%. So I received something which I found, which was ongoing, and this was done by instrument of the minute of 2nd August 2011.
You read that. What is in the minute?
Where the board members, 187.9, NSSF standard contribution for directors, inform that their directors who are eligible to pay NSSF standard contributions, namely Jole Kiravalipa, Mr. Romano Ojambo Cheng, and Mr. Vigirwa Richard. 2, noted that with effect from May 2021, 5% employee contribution were going to be deducted from emoluments of the 3 directors, while the fund was meeting the employees' 10% contribution. And this is what was set in 2011 and has continued to be updated. And has been continued to updated in again the remuneration of the board, which expires in 2024, which spells out on the issue of NSSF. So, Madam Speaker, in conclusion, Madam Speaker, I don't grant clarification.
Honorable
Right,
Werike.
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Werike.
members, the select committee.
Honorable Werike, you have a specific 1 minute which sets precedence for everybody, apart from the first 3. You have it.
This can be.
because you're relying on a wrong minute. Let's have that minute which shows that out of this minute, the rest were supposed to benefit.
Right, Honorable Speaker, when I showed this of 2029, is the current minute which is talking about the board expiry of 2024. This instrument, it grants these benefits up to 2024. So we just left
It
it
grants benefits to who?
to the board members.
Who were mentioned,
Because it-
who were mentioned in that
This one was
minute?
mentioned, but in the board.
Who
circular,
was mentioned to be a beneficiary, to be entitled?
at that time when their term expired, because it's a 3-year term, right, Honorable Speaker. In
Uh,
conclusion,
Aisha,
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. In respect, and I pray that the colleague listens to me. In respect to the 3 directors you are reading, what was so special about them? Were you replacing them? We want to know the category of constituents of those people. Were you replacing them? Why only those 3 are they receiving such entitlement? Will help us understand probably why those who came later on received it. So would you clarify about those 3 directors?
can we hear from the chairman first?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Actually, even the 3 directors you are referring to, it was also illegal. Section 3(6) of the NSSF Act requires the minister to ensure that the persons he or she appoints to the NSSF board represent employers, are contributing employers under Section 7. This essentially means that those employers must be contributing to the NSSF and not for NSF to contribute for the employees. Therefore, the contribution by the NSF for members of the board is illegal, since there exists no employee-employer relationship.
Right Honorable Speaker, in respect with what Honorable Aisha has raised,
That has been responded to. Go straight to your report.
in conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members,
Honorable members, please listen. Feta, Honorable Feta.
I still state that during the investigation, and were members who create this advocacy.
Are
for
you
the
still
right to
on
be-
your
for
report?
The right to be heard. I was not given that opportunity to be heard, and therefore this is what I've read. I beg to
Thank
submit.
you, thank you. Agnes, members, you only debate. I thought you're a member of the committee.
I'm just, I'm giving information.
Are you giving information?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. When you look at page 8 of the report, the stakeholders that we met as a committee, it includes the workers' representatives, the members of parliament who are representing workers. We wrote to them, we invited them, and they came, and we gave them the terms of reference. So when they came, they didn't present this issue to us. So it's the board that gave us this information later on. So after the board giving us the information, we looked at the facts. Did they get the money or not? Was it right to get the money or not? That was our basis.
So the members appear to the committee.
Right Honorable
Right
Speaker, I
Honorable
want to get clarification from my.
You don't.
Right. Right, Honorable Speaker. Yes, the members did appear before the committee.
Honorable members, don't put personal feelings onto this thing. And as I told you, I know machineries in this house. And before we go for a debate, I want you to mention your name before you mention anything, so that the public knows who is for the savers and who is against the savers. Don't bring your personal feelings here. Let's look at a way of protecting the savers' money. This is a very hard and cash that you're just going to play because somebody has given you something kidogo. Stop it. We are going, you may stand up, mention your name and debate so that the public knows who said what. Honorable Nathan. I picked you because you're busy with my muko.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. You see, what we're being presented is really a serious matter. And that's why I like the Honorable Asha's issue. What was the constraint? Now, that's why I wanted to make just small just a request to you, Madam Speaker, so that when we're going to those who are presenting, help us to understand. Under the NSSF Act, the moment you are 45 years and above, you don't contribute. And the board members who are coming in, what was the agreement and understand? Because they are coming and saying, we followed this, because I'm sure you're going to call another one. You say, we are following the minute of 2011. We want a minute which refers to them and what is in the appointment letter, which my sister Anita raised and said, for me, I gave you the letter, not to go and encroach, but to go and work. So, Madam Speaker, my request is that if there are these members, if you believe that they need to make a case, maybe we ask the committee to look at their case at the committee level, so that when they come, so that when they don't, then when they come here, for us, we don't want to waste time with this report because we have already.
Let's hear the final one. The aspect of 45 years and below, and the aspect of a specific minute, as we have already said. Let's first hear.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. I would beg that you listen to us, understand our case, and make the right judgment. I want also to inform members that I served on the board of directors, as a board of directors of the NSSF, from June 2022 to May 2015. Appointed, from June 2012 to May 2015, appointed by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Maria Chiwanuka. I was never involved at that time in determining our benefits as a board member. I therefore would like to state as follows, that the matter of 10% statutory contribution was settled under the said minute 187.9. I've had member questioning the issue of directors and non-directors and why 2 or 3. It was very clear that it should be only those below 55 years. And by that time, the chairman Sekono was above 55 years, was a retired public service employee. The other member representing workers, Mr. Kairita, who has since died, was above. He was also above 55. That's how at that time it applied to only 3 directors who were below 45. The other 2 were statutory representatives of the ministry, the one of Ministry of Finance and the one of Ministry of Labor. And I know members, I want to request that you listen to us when we read this circular. For every board, after being appointed, management takes your appointment letters and gives you a detailed document of how your emoluments are going to be managed. They present the amount that you're supposed to get, but they also, let me read it out for you. Kindly note the following additional details. A retainer payments are paid on a monthly basis and directly to the director's respective accounts. A tax of 30,000 is deducted from each director. 30%. The NSF contribution are deducted from eligible directors. Payments of government representatives are not affected by this taxing. Seating allowance for all board sittings, ordinary and extraordinary, full board and committee meetings are processed quarterly after verifying attendance by way of directors sign off confirming attendance. Directors are paid a foreign travel allowance for every day of the scheduled training, including day travel. Subsistence allowance is paid to directors for conducting fund business outside Kampala. I might not go into details. This is a standard document that the management of NSSF gives out to every individual. I wanted to make that clarification, honorable colleagues. Honorable colleagues, on my side, on my case, I was also mentioned. That was item 1 of statutory contribution of NSF. On my side, I was also mentioned under page 97 about the smart card system. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, my attention has also been drawn to the observation and recommendations of the committee in relation to smart card system. The report states that the project started in 2010, as clearly stated in that report. I was only appointed on the board in the year 2012, the month of May. Benchmarking study carried out in 2014 was not in any way intended to carry out due diligence or procurement processing. It was for members to appreciate the usage of the smart card system. The 3 board members were delegated by the board. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee has made a blanket recommendation without clearing the role of individuals in that procurement. I was not a board member by 2010. I left the board May 2012 before the contract was signed by Mr. Richard Byarugaba. Which contract, 2015, sorry, which contract was between NSSF and Madras for procurement of the smart card system on 22nd June 2015. Honorable members, I would like to lay on table the contract signed by Byarugaba and between NSSF and Madrasa Security Printers Private Limited on 23rd day of June 2015. I had since left in May 2015. I beg to lay, and I was surprised the community did not invest into all this matter, but identified a few members to be held responsible. The contract was between, yes. I beg to lay this contract between NSSF and Madrasa Security Printers Private Limited, 23rd day of June 2015. I beg.
Signed by who?
Signed by Richard Byarugaba, Managing Director, in the presence of Richard Wejuli Wabwire, Corporation Secretary, between Madrasa Security Printers. The signatory is Asir Ratan Singh. I beg to lay on table. I therefore want to get clarification from the chairperson. What was the criteria used to selectively name individuals like me who never participated in procurement, due diligence, signing of the contract, and execution of the project. What was the motivation?
Honorable Agnes, did you happen to travel to Tanzania and Namibia on the procurement of the smart card? By any chance?
Right, Honorable Speaker, Tanzania was a country that uses the process, the smart card. I did not go on the procurement process, neither did I go for due diligence.
Did you go to Tanzania and Namibia?
True, I traveled for a benchmarking study. Yes,
that
there
is
is
the
a
answer.
difference
That's the answer. That is
between
the
benchmarking and
As a
procurement and
as-
due diligence.
As a former board member,
And I hear-
excuse me, Agnes, as a former board member, it's a decision of the board, a personal decision or board decision.
Thank you, Speaker. That is a very good question. They have recommended 3 people. Every action of individual members of the board.
They have not recommended 3 people.
They have mentioned 3.
They have recommended 24 people.
They have recommended 3 people, and every
You have the
action-
document.
Yes.
I am talking about
Among the-
24 people. In the report, we only have 3 MPs who are affected in the House. The rest are not members of parliament. But they are saying the rest must pay.
Right, Honorable Speaker. We are talking about another item card now. We are talking about smart cards, not the statutory deductions. I'm on the smart card. And that's what I'm saying. Out of that
So
list,
how many were you in that team of the smart
out of
card?
that list, there are only 3 board members. And the 3 board members acted on the interest of the full board. And the visit to Namibia was not to procure. It was a study tour. Tanzania and Namibia do not supply.
That finally led to the procurement. You finalize. Finalize.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, my question was on the basis of recommendation 27.
Honorable Kanus, why are you disturbing him?
Mpindi is intimidating me as a member of the committee. I must say that.
I thought you're all members of disability.
Yes, but also disabilities know how to intimidate each other, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg for your protection from this disability man.
Honorable Mpindi. Honorable, Stephen, now you're doing the job.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, if only my sister would take her seat. I am seeking your procedural guidance because this is very critical in terms of what we call fair processes. On the one hand, there's a group of our colleagues saying there was no fair hearing because we're not heard. If we proceed without resolving that issue, it is going to continue coming back to haunt us because there is a group of board members, former board members, who are not members of parliament and who we are not going to hear today. Would it not be procedurally right first? We establish as a matter of fact, 1, whether these former board members were heard or not. And 2, the rules require that we receive the minutes, whether these questions were actually put to them. Before they come to stampede us with answers, we need to establish as a fact, were they invited by the committee?
Were they asked about these very questions we are hearing today? Because the chairperson of the committee, who would speak for the committee, is in the house. I think if we do not ascertain this as a fact, we'll be moving.
Council, why don't we finalize to get her statement and then we now go back and look at, one, there was an aspect of fair hearing. Two, there is an aspect of where these members, employees of NSSF, for them to be able to pay, that is under section 11 and 12 of NSSF Act.
Madam Speaker, I'm very grateful.
Can we hear
However,
from
that
Agnes?
be a discussion into the merits.
Let's hear from Agnes. Let her finish her submission. Agnes, conclude.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I beg to lay the report on the study tour. Maybe as the Honorable colleague is suggesting, the chair might now have opportunity to review the right documents. I would like to seek clarification from the chair, Madam Speaker. Why was Richard Yarugaba, who signed the agreement, who did the procurement, who did the payment, why was he not included in all this list under the system, the smart card system? Why was he not included and part? And yet he's the one who signed the agreement, the contract. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, finally, the chair has a lot of time. He should allow us to talk because he did not give us the time at the floor, at the committee level.
But Agnes, but did you go to the committee as a workers representative?
They called me for another issue. They never asked any question. He's here. If he asked me anything to do with that, the smart card. Right Honorable Speaker, finally, the right to fair hearing in Uganda is well settled under Article 28, 42, 44 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which provides that a person appearing before any administrative official body has a right to be treated justly and fairly. Honorable members, the select committee did not invite us to respond on all these allegations. I therefore want to appeal to members to afford us a fair hearing after getting the details that you have shared you. I beg to submit.
Honorable member, I want you to tell us what you requested from the workers MP, what you expected, what you asked them to submit, and if you asked them to submit within what was in the terms of reference.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I would like to clarify on one issue before. The Honorable member stated that this smart card was procured in 2010 before she was a board member. This is not true. Our report on page 97 states, Right Honorable Speaker and members, the NSF management in 2014 adopted the smart card concept. So it is not true that we said it was 2010. The report, you have the report on your iPads. 2014, she was a board member. The other issue I want to clarify on, she said, the honorable member stated that we didn't put Mr. Byarugaba. When you look at page, on that specific recommendation, the person who signed on behalf of Byarugaba was Miss Geraldine Sali Usu, and she's number M, letter M. It was not Mr. Richard Byarugaba who signed. It was the deputy managing director at that time. And she has also been included in the recommendations. Right Honorable members, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable members, you can check that recommendation. The last letter M was Miss Geraldine Sali, who signed, and that is also attached in your annexes. It was not.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker,
Yes,
the argument
the agreement that she has laid on the table. She has read that the one who
Ms.
signed is
Biarugaba.
Richard Biarugaba. Can we get clarity?
Can
on
we
that?
get yours, which talks of Geraldine?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Her claim is that out of the whole board, only 3 have been accused, have been cited. And according to what you have read, actually, the matter was approved by the entire board. Her question, why didn't you accuse the whole board? Because Biarugaba was also one of them. How many, and in fact, I wanted to know from her, how many of the board members, how many other people are left out? We want to know how many are left out. Why didn't you accuse the whole board?
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. That recommendation reads, the committee recommends that the IGG should investigate all persons. Investigate. It means even others can be included. However, these are the ones who participated, who flew to do due diligence, who did what? These are the ones who captured. But the recommendation is not limited. The IGG is going to investigate. And if there's any other person involved, that person will also be implicated in this.
Were the 3 members of the finance committee of the board?
Well, they can tell you, but they're the ones who trouble.
Clarification.
Chair,
Madam Speaker, and honorable members, I have advantage that I worked with Biarugaba and I know his signature. And the big thing, the contract I'm having here, which was signed long when I had left, because it was signed on 23rd June 2015. I had left the NSF board. And that means before procurement, no activity was being implemented. And it is signed by Biarugaba. And I read the names. You asked me to read, and I laid it here.
Right, Honorable Speaker, procedure.
So what are you laying again?
He has asked for it.
It was laid.
Right,
I mean-
Honorable Speaker. You see, I am a prisoner of knowledge and the propriety of processes. And I want to insist for the record, there is no way we can proceed in this bucket for explanations without ascertaining fundamental questions. The first fundamental question was, were these honorable members and other former board members invited, listened to, and asked these specific questions? And now, where we are with this ping pong, we want the minutes. Number 2, and to me, this is not about substance.
The minutes were laid the other day when the report was laid. Honorable Mpaka, the issue of fair hearing.
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
Before Mpaka,
Right, Honorable Speaker, as the Honorable Mpaka addresses the issue of fair hearing, it is also important for you to help the committee to ascertain who was responsible for this mess.
which mess?
This payment, this illegal payment. Because like it or not, all indications that these payments are illegal. Were our colleagues part and parcel of the process of these illegal payments? Or they were beneficiaries of an illegal process? And because we must be very clear on that. If they were mere beneficiaries, how do we treat them? And then what happens to those who occasioned the illegal payments? I just clarified that.
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
I think.
Yes, Richard.
Just
Richard.
thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and the House at large. The Honorable Segona has just raised one of the issues which is very fundamental. we have other fundamental issues, Madam Speaker. First, the ascertainment of whether these board members were in employment of service or not. The issue of eligibility, the 15% standard contribution is clearly by law under section 6 of the NSSF Act. Now, Madam Speaker, the NSSF Act does not clearly define an employee, but an employee has been defined under the income tax.
The NSSF Act Section 11 defines who an employee is. Check 11 and 12 and defines who is eligible.
Yes, I have looked at them, Madam Speaker. But when you go to the definitions under section 1, section 1, subsection 1, I mean I, an employee should be an employee in Uganda and is ordinarily resident in Uganda. But I want to draw the house to the definition of an employee.
Are we still looking at fair hearing?
Yeah, not fair hearing.
No, what the Honorable Segona said. Let's first sort out the issue of fair hearing. Then we'll now go to whether these members were part of the employees of NSSF.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker.
Yes,
Thank you, Right Honorable.
strictly on fair hearing.
Right Honorable, as we are, because we are, Honorable Agnes is on the floor and we want
She's
to.
not on the floor.
And-
She finished her submission. We are now giving her responses.
Yes. So, Right Honorable Speaker, in the fair hearing, because a member has insinuated that some of these other people that are being left out possibly could have had the hearing, and these that are implicated we are not heard. Because, Right Honorable Speaker, the process of smart card does not begin and end with the signature. There was the whole beginning, the initiation, the travel, procurement, allowing everything. So looking at only the signature alone is not enough for us to conclude that this one.
Honorable Mpaka, can we respond on fair hearing?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as I informed you, Attorney General versus Fox Odoe Constitutional Petition 34 of 2013. The right to be heard is limited to the opportunity to be heard. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the honorable colleagues here are beneficiaries of a board decision. The board that took this decision was given a right to be heard. The board appeared before the committee. The board testified. The current board, the 12th board, the board testified that they were receiving this money and they agreed that it was illegal because there's no employee-employer relationship. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, these committees do work on your behalf. If at all you think, because our recommendation was to recover the savers' money, if at all you think those that we did not meet, much as we are aware they received this money, should not refund, it is entirely up to you. Because we met, of the total number of the board members, we met all the members of the current board. And they are also included here. And we asked them on this specific matter. I beg to submit.
Right Honorable issue. With your permission.
Honorable Mutembule Nathan Fox.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we are talking about a very serious issue of natural justice. And this has nothing to do with the merits. And if we don't handle it carefully, we are likely to waste our time here, come up with the recommendations, and they will be quashed. The issue of saying that the board, the 12th board came and appeared, and he told us this and the other. And then we are talking about the members who of the 10th, 11th board.
there are issues, Right Honorable Speaker. You ought, and this should go to all of us, the committee chairpersons, that every time you're going to make a recommendation and it's going to affect an individual, you must give that individual an opportunity to be heard. We shall debate, look at all these issues, and what will happen, the matter goes to court and the recommendations are quashed, and we would have wasted a lot of our time. May I advise and move that this particular recommendation that we are talking about, that is affecting the members of parliament, have the opportunity now to say something. What about those other ones who have been mentioned and did not say anything? They were not heard, they were not given opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, this is a serious matter. Before even start thinking about the merits of the report, we must have this resolved, and if we don't resolve it well, the recommendations and the entire report is likely to be quashed on that.
Honorable Fox.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, permit me to take you through the ingredients of the non-derogable right to a fair hearing. When a person is accused, that person has to get an invitation to be heard. There must be a charge that they can understand that lays out the allegations made against them so that they can prepare their defense. They must be given time, reasonable time, to prepare and present their defense. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, what is apparent is that there's an illegality on the record. What is also apparent is that the honorable members of parliament and the other board members were not accorded a fair hearing within the ambit of the law. And Right Honorable Speaker, this is such a critical report that we must preserve. We must do all it takes to preserve this report. Can I plead, Right Honorable, that we stand over the debate on only this part?
We are not standing over any debate. Have you heard?
I have heard, Right Honorable.
Honorable members,
Madam Speaker.
one thing we must know, these members did not pay themselves. A decision was not taken by them to pay them. We must hold the persons who paid them culpable. If the person who paid them wants to recover from them, then he should recover from them. Yes, Nathan,
Thank you very
there's
much.
a procedural matter
Madam
here.
Speaker.
Procedural matter.
Right Honorable Speaker, in light of the issue of fair hearing that has been raised by my senior colleague,
Order.
the Honorable Fox Odoy and the Honorable Segona and Honorable Mutembuli, wouldn't it be procedurally right, Honorable Speaker, this particular recommendation asking our colleagues to pay the money to be expunged from the report?
We cannot expunge this recommendation. The person who did the payment must pay the money.
And I was amending.
You amended
Yes.
the recommendation, but
Yes,
not
this
expunge.
particular, because it is potentially, it can infect the entire report. Because there is issue of fair hearing, it can infect the whole report. It is my humble submission, Right Honorable Speaker, that whoever was responsible for the illegal payments be made accountable. Whoever took the decision, because these were mere beneficiaries, whoever took the decision to pay our colleagues and the others who cannot have an opportunity to appear here should be personally liable and do good the damage that was occasioned.
All right,
Order.
Speaker, procedure.
Order.
Procedure.
There is a procedure from Odor.
Procedure.
There was a procedure from Odor.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. The procedural matter I'm raising first is twofold. The members had asked to come to the floor, make personal statements so that they can be heard by this house, which I think the house has received. Now, what is important is now for us to go and debate. Each individual member of parliament here, having heard from two sides, can then make contribution whether the submission by the honorable members here amounts to the infringement on their rights to be heard, or their submission here is enough to convince us to proceed. When it comes to the recommendation, we can therefore propose to retain the recommendation as the committee has proposed. We can reject it or we can amend it. That should actually come in the debate and towards the end. What I now see is that we have now entered the substantive debate without actually debating the matter. So the procedural matter I want to ask.
Is there a way of gazetting that debate starts at this time?
Yes. Yes.
No, I opened the debate. I opened the debate on what they were raising.
Right Honorable Speaker.
And that's what you're doing now.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you. You had guided that after him would sort out a few preliminary issues. And I want to thank you. And I would ask the young Honorable Nandarama Fabi to take his seat as I speak. Right Honorable Speaker, one, I partly want to associate myself with the Honorable Odul to the extent, one, that as we speak now, it is premature for us to conclude whether the payment was illegal or legal. That's number one. Number two, when we reach somewhere and find that it was illegal, then I would move in to support the Honorable Asman Wasaliwa as guided by your good office or your good chair, that the person who took that illegal decision pays. It has been conceded in the communication of my able young honorable friend, the chair, who did a very thorough report, by the way, for which I congratulate him and his team. That what they did, they invited the current board. Now, inevitably, the current board spoke for the previous board members. Now that would raise some issues. And I don't want people to be stampeded by the threat of what we'll push our report. No, that will bog us down. Let us be stampeded by our conscience that we are doing the right job and doing it rightly. In other words, even without anticipating that court might do something, we must convince ourselves that we are doing the right thing and the right way. I would move therefore and suggest, one, that we have resolved the issue of invitation and hearing. Now with the debate, we can move. No, don't take me to that. We have convinced ourselves as to the propriety of the process and where we are so far. Let's examine whether the payment was illegal or not before we conclude. I beg to move.
Honorable Nathan was on the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when you're a board member, you are the policy maker. You are the one who makes the law in that organization. And if the board member made a policy to pay themselves, it is an illegal policy. And if you benefit from an act which you know it is wrong, then you have committed a what? A crime. And I want to state from that on onset that if there are board members who knew that they are doing a wrong thing and continue with it, In fact, it's like being caught with a stolen thing, you're a thief. So, Madam Speaker, there's nothing we should shy from. What we must interrogate, one, what was spent in the letter of appointment of the emoluments? If they paid you anything from outside that, did you question? If you never questioned, then you participated in the theft. That's number one. Number two, Madam Speaker, I want to ask the chair of the committee, please don't lose your head. You have done a good report. I know you're about to lose this your report. But what I want to put across is that there's where we delegate. If I'm the boss and I delegate, I remain accountable and held reliable. Now, if Biaruanga delegated Sally, Biaru, if Biarugava delegated Nasali, whatever the case is, Sally, you cannot only mention Sally and leave also making it in bold letters Biarugava. Because
I'm giving my senior colleague, Honorable Nandala, information. Yarugava did delegate the powers, but he was out of office. His contract had not yet been renewed. So Geraldine Sali was the acting managing director.
thank you very much. If that's the case, now that's where you draw us to another point, Madam Speaker. That's why we would need to interrogate. From when did the process begin? And from when did it what? End? Because the one who started it may not have been the one who concluded it. But if he had started it wrongly, then if the one who concluded it wrongly, but the one who initiated it must be held liable. So, Madam Speaker, I want to agree with your statement of saying that the one who paid be held also liable. That is a true statement. But also the one who got it when knowing it is wrong must be held what? Liable. Under Article 164 of our Constitution of Uganda, it clearly states that if you occasion a loss, whether you're still in office or you have left office, you will be personally what? Liable. So I will not get intimidated by anybody saying that the court will quash the report. No. What we can do to avoid that, even we say all board members who benefited from this must be held what?
Thank you, Honorable Nathan. I am opening the debate. Beta Mongi says she's coming. Let's debate. She will make up. Her report is on the order paper. I mean, it's uploaded. We will not make a decision, but let's debate. Elder. Two minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I have basically 4 areas to comment. One, commend the management and board of NSSF for raising My name is James Baba. I represent the people of Komoko County. I want to commend the NSSS board and management for growing the fund from 1.7 to 17.9 trillion. I think that's a commendable job we should recognize. Number 2, I'm not one of those who wants to hang Minister Mongi. Although she tried all her level best to access 6 billion outside the requirements, she did not succeed. There is nowhere in the report which mentioned that Minister of Gender got the 6 billion money. But I want to commend her for blowing the whistle that there was a problem in NSF management, and the select committee has vilified her for that position. Number three, mainly on the abuse of workers' money, savings. There was mention of 1.8 billion for board members. There was mention of use of suspend account money, 57 billion. There was mention of payment of VAT of 5.7 billion, which was not required to be paid, but that money was paid. Nobody knows where it went, but there was no requirement to pay that money. There was mention of...
You're saying nobody knows where the 1.8 went?
No, the 5.7 VAT money. There was no requirement to pay that money, but it was paid. So who chewed that money?
Thank you, thank you. Honorable Kivalia.
Lastly, Madam Speaker, on investments in West Nile Club, that money must be written off. It was a poor investment. And Onego Bell...
Honorable members, it is not our role as Parliament to recommend that we write off that amount of money. Let's not mislead the country, Elder.
Then mention of Onego Bell, that a man who was chairman of the board was arrested, imprisoned, prosecuted, and was finally cleared by the anti-corruption court. A man cannot be tried twice for the same offense. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, keep your calm. At the end of the day, we'll know who is a mercenary and who is not. Honorable Kivalia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
If there is an attempted rape, you will be prosecuted.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we are debating an issue that concerns this nation. And this is people's money. Somebody who has his money to go there and begin playing around with the people's money, we cannot entertain, as the senior is saying. In fact, my first prayer, Right Honorable Speaker, I wish somebody could take this message to the president. There is no way a better investigation will go on when the minister concerned is still the minister overseeing the program. Let the president do justice to this country, ask the minister to step aside as investigations continue. In the same spirit, Right Honorable Speaker, on most occasions, the police has arrested people here that is suspecting somebody to be committing a crime in the next few minutes. There are people here who stole money. There are people here who you can't tell me that the MDB Rugaba is still moving around and some of these people cannot be in prison. This is a criminal. There is glaring evidence that people stole money. Let other investigations go on because there is this other gentleman, Kazinda. Kazinda was put in as investigations were continuing and as they were prosecuting others. Let some of these people, there are these four, first be arrested, we move on as we continue investigating. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, our colleagues, some of these could be witnesses. They will help us, you get it? They will help us in our investigation. But let the key people, whoever was responsible for stealing money, sharing money, eating money, this board, let this board be in prison, Right Honorable Speaker.
Say chance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you and my chairman on the Committee of Health for letting me benchmark in Rwanda. For sure, Rwanda is developing at a very high speed. Why? Because they have zero tolerance to corruption. Madam Speaker,
say chance.
Really,
just it is not your chair who gave you to go and benchmark. Okay. It is Parliament of
Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, indeed what is disturbing here, we tolerate corruption. However, our committee mentioned the names of our colleagues here, but I don't know why again they didn't invite them for inquiries at the committee level, yet they mentioned their names here. So we need also to dig into that. It's also a kind of corruption. Thank you.
Honorable, maybe just for your information, this is an extension. This is a committee of the whole house. This is an extension of the other committee. That committee that sat there is part of our committee. So there is no corruption in our committee. If the committee is corrupt, then you are corrupt. You are corrupt yourself if the committee is corrupt. So never say that our committee is corrupt, because they are not. They are doing work for and on behalf of this parliament and on your own behalf. Emily?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Dr. Emily Kugonza, Member of Parliament for Buyanja East County. I want to appreciate the committee for the great report, but I want to look at what happened in 2011, the minute that has been referred to. That's where the big problem started, where they made a decision to remunerate the board, and yet the remuneration of the board is a preserve of the Minister of Finance. And I think anybody who was a board member of NSSF from 2011, who has been benefiting from this particular resolution, must be held culpable. And as a parliament, we really need to, because first of all, the law is very clear how the terms of the board are set. If you are given a responsibility that you set your own terms, which is against the law, then you are certainly responsible. And then also, the other point I would like to make is in reference to corporate governance, the governance of the entire NSSF. If you look at the law, you have the minister who appoints the board. Again, the minister appoints the managing director. The right way should have been that the minister appoints the board, and the board puts in place the managing director, and the managing director responds to the board. And then we would be able to solve many of these other issues that are rising in the authority. I beg to submit.
Members, look at the amendment that Honorable Emily is bringing on board. Chair, I hope you've heard.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Mention your name before you make a submission so that we have it on record that this is the person.
Yes, my name is Chialangatalinga Solomon. I represent the people of Tor County in Bukwa District. I want to join colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker, in congratulating the chair and his team for that brilliant report. However, I have one item that I got some concern. In the report, there was somewhere where one supervisor, head of business, was supervising his close relatives in his office. That shows, the Right Honorable Speaker, that there must be a lot of problems in as much as recruitment of staff in NSSF is concerned. I would propose, Right Honorable Speaker, that we include an item where we have human resource audit for the NSSF, such that we get to understand how the recruitment has been done from henceforth. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
There is an aspect of forensic audit. It must be a forensic audit on NSSF, not particularly on suspense account. It should be on NSSF. Sanoni?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable, I want to thank you.
Who are you?
You had mentioned earlier. My name is Wile Sanon Nadeva, MP for Bulamoji Kaliru. Right Honorable, I want to thank Parliament for having the zeal to save and protect the savers' money. Right Honorable, I want to commend the work of the committee because when you look at the time we gave them and the quality of the report, if we had given them more time, I don't think we would even need a forensic audit. I want to thank you. Right Honorable, there is an issue which was passed by the 10th Parliament. And this Parliament passed this law that this very fund should be supervised by the Ministry of Gender and Finance. Right Honorable, the committee has recommended that the responsibilities should almost go back to the Ministry of Finance. Right Honorable, we have suffered.
And that is not a recommendation. What the committee is saying on the appointment of the MD, it should be done by the Minister of Finance, and then the corporate governance on the issues of the board, it should be done by gender.
Yeah, right Honorable.
Draw management.
Yes, that one should be upheld because what was in the circles that the responsibility of this fund should move away from the Ministry of Gender. Then lastly, Right Honorable, when you look at
and actually what you're saying, that is the amendment that Honorable Emily was bringing on board.
yeah. When you look at NSSF, problem,
Jackson,
Right Honorable, the problems have been in NSSF for a very long time. And when the committee came up to clarify to us about the issues of the board and the management, I think that is where the biggest problem is. That is the board and this other.
Thank you.
yes, Jackson, Lee.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Atima Jackson Lee Buti, representing Arua Central from Arua City. I start by thanking the committee for doing a commendable job. I have few points to raise. One, the board members' composition. I believe if we can have gender parity with positions of vice chairperson being provided for, this will avoid some of the challenges where when the chairperson is not there, somebody jumps in to act. Two, this board should reflect national outlook with the 12 members covering the 4 major regions in this country: Western, Central, Eastern, and Northern Uganda should be represented in the 12-member membership. Lastly, Parliament should directly approve the budget of NSSF. 18 trillions being managed by one minister, I think is a disservice to this country. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Lee. The issue of national character must come in. Musomesa. Xavier.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm God Choma Xavier, MP Ivanda North. I want to thank the committee for the work well done. Likewise, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you. When you look at the terms of references you gave to the committee, that term of reference of examining the corporate governance of the fund is very, very paramount. And all these issues being identified in the report, it is because the operations of the fund are devoid of the corporate governance principles. Just imagine where a ministry approve the rest of the issues in the budget and pens the investment decision in the budget by imposing conditions, and that is one ministry, yet was the responsibility of the ministry. I think, Right Honorable, even the dual supervision has a problem in itself.
Look at an issue where 11 billion was lent to Uganda craze. Unsecured loan. It increased up to 24. They have only recovered 221 billion, or rather million. Virtually, they have recovered nothing. Remember, it is not secured. If it was a fund observing total corporate governance principles, all this would not be done. The governance would be doing its work, management doing its work, the ministers doing their work. So I want to thank you very much. But it is my prayer that out of this report, we address the governance issues at the fund. And it is also my prayer that the recommendations in this report actually be implemented by those who are responsible. I thank you.
Thank you. Isaac?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I'm Ituka Isaac Joaquino, the Member of Parliament for Upper Mari County. Right Honorable Speaker and members, when we look at the issue of NSSF, the taxpayers' money, the savers' money, it is a very big challenge that the poor Ugandans have lost billions of money, which in fact must be refunded at all costs. Madam Speaker, the issue of suspense account was prominent in this report. And I wonder how NSSF, with all the machinery in the place, the staff and what have you, would say that there are people who cannot be traced and yet they have been receiving this money. These are people who come from various organizations. I think if you have someone whom you think is not there, you can follow this person through the organization for which this person has been working. And I think, Madam Speaker, there's a deliberate move in NSSF to see that some people are just eliminated and this money is shared among the people who are in these offices. I pray that all those whose funds have been in suspense account should be followed so that the owners get the money which belongs to them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. What is on suspense account is the unclaimed funds that we may need to open the veil and know who are these people who did not claim for their funds and yet they were beneficiaries. Feta, Faith.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Feta Geoffrey. I represent the people of Ivo Division East, Arua City. I have two issues. One, the mismanagement of NSSF in NSSF of the Savers Fund is a replica of what is happening in this country in very many MDAs. Unfortunately, we come here, we talk about it, but we don't have the opportunity to implement many of these recommendations that we make. We had an opportunity to go to Lusaka with the chairperson of PAC, funded by Parliament. And in the House, they are given 60 days for the executive to implement the recommendations that are made by the House. Now, when you look at the funds involved that have been squandered, and you look at the state of the savers struggling to access 10 million shillings, struggling to access 30 million shillings, struggling to access 40 million shillings, and yet people are sharing 250 million shillings at ease. And this House must sit here and accept that it is okay. When they decided to pay themselves, it is okay. And therefore, we should accept that we should not give them period of natural justice so that at the end of the process, it can be quashed. And then we waste our time. Two, the chairperson was telling us here and recommending that the investment which was made I picked from his report that the investment which was made in 2003 of 2.3 billion should be written off. We have had his report.
That's not what the chair said. That was Honorable Papa, not the chair. Don't put those words in the chair's report. Are you withdraw? Withdraw that statement.
If it is not true, I withdraw. But I want to say this.
Don't say if it is not true.
Okay,
It is not
I do.
true.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I do withdraw. Can I give information? Yes.
You're not the speaker. Faith. Next is Faith.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Magoro, John Faith. I'm the member of parliament for Bungoko North. I commend highly the committee and the chair for the report and all its details. And I pray that at the end of the day, if there are hiccup here and one and or two, they can still be removed and the still report remains intact because does not remove the value that it has. Whereas there is a commendable job that the NSSF did to raise the savers money to 18.3% in the last 5 years. If that trend continued, that means that it could have been greater if due diligence was done. But now this means that it was not done because of all the investments they attempted to do and have been revealed in the report. When we look at the Uganda Clays Limited, giving them unsecured loan, which has accumulated to a loss of 24.8 billion shillings. And out there on the trading world, when Uganda Clays posts how they are doing well, how they are the best local construction and all that business company, it defeats our understanding when we begin seeing this. And when we look at the issue of investing in the real estate, which was seemingly a good idea, a good business plan, making good business sense on paper, and when it comes, we see all this where you put free. No one is occupying them. That does not bring out a good business sense. And yet we talk about NSF, when we look at it, we are seeing having good and seasoned businessmen. When it's time to speak, we see them speaking business. When it comes to reality, where are we heading as a country? In final analysis, I actually concur with every detail of what the committee has recommended. If there are any shortcomings, they should be dealt with, but the report still speaks to the aspirations of every Ugandan who wants to see good progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Maui James is my name, Member of Parliament for Juman East constituency.
After James, we have a Chan. Then we have Okini.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee chair and the members for the report. Right Honorable Speaker, we have given a chance for everybody to give their versions. On behalf of my people, Right Honorable Speaker, and on my own behalf, I happen to be also one of the savers with the NSSF. And when we look at what is happening here, I sometimes ask myself, do we really have the money? Much as the paperwork is saying, NSSF has grown from this to this. But do we have this money? Is the question which we need to ask ourselves about. Because looking at the trend the money is taking, I'm a bit worried, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Matia Kasaija has given a defense here because he was one of the person who was accused here. And he was ably represented by our sister, Honorable Anita. And from there, he was agreeing with the report of the committee about what the NSSF was doing. But the Ministry of Finance is one of the is the body which supervises the NSSF. Now, are they aware of what is taking place in the NSSF? If they are aware, why have they not taken decision over this matter? Right, Honourable Speaker, members were paid without the law. They have undergone the law because the law said these are the people to be paid. But they went ahead to pay other members a certain percentage. And the board itself and the technical persons did not take into consideration or looked into this matter until it was discovered by the committee. Meaning there is an issue between the board and the technical officers. So I was asking, when we sat here, I was asked if there is a need for recovery. The board has mistakes, and at the same time, the technical officers have mistakes. Who is going to recover this? Because the committee report is saying, let this person step aside, let the minister step aside. And now, are we going to have someone in the NSSF office to take charge of the office? Because we are seeing everybody has issues, right, Honourable Speaker. I thank you.
The office is only not managed by one person. It's an institution, a very big institution. So never get worried that the institution will be left alone. Judith.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, my name is Judith Bisachan. I represent the people of Noya District. Madam Speaker, in the report, I quoted one part of the report where the report indicates the MD at that time indicates that he was under due pressure to approve the budget, the money. Right, Honorable Speaker, I do not want...
It is not the MD who approved the money.
The minister was putting him under pressure to approve. I do not want the House or you, Madam Speaker, for someone to allege that you are putting him or her under pressure without any evidence. And the committee did not lay the evidence before the House for us to scrutinize. And if there was unlawful payment to board members, Madam Speaker, that is negligence of duties of a responsible officer at that particular time. So I would beg to submit that we stand liable for any misconduct, any negligence of duty of our offices. I beg to submit.
Maybe for your information, there was a letter in regard to the 6 billion shillings that we are talking about. The letter was written to the MD and was authored by the Lines Minister. So we are not making any mistake per se. We are acting within the law with the evidence that we have on paper. Okin PP.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Okin PP Ojara. I represent the people of Chua West, Kingdom District. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about the external interference in the NSF governance system. When you read the report, there was a big mention of names. For example, of the coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation. It was mentioned in the report, yes. But the committee is, I think his name is General Salim Saleh. It was just an injection in the report. But I don't know why the committee did not find it.
Did you hear it from the report?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I have it here.
Which
I can quote.
Just help us. Which page?
In the executive summary. In the let me just be honest.
Executive summary
at the executive summary,
in the report.
They made mention that a petition, just let me quote, a petition was given to the Operation Wealth Creation coordinator. His name was mentioned. So I just want to find out.
The chair is here. Is that correct?
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, there's no mention of the name General Salim Saleh in the report. There's only, in the WhatsApp chat, there's only the initials, Jen, Jen.
Madam
Jane,
Speaker,
and Jane
Madam
is
Speaker,
not
I have the
Salim
report
Saleh.
here. At least the coordinator of the operational wealth creation's position was mentioned in the report.
No, it is not correct.
Secondly, Madam
It's not
Speaker,
correct. That is not, don't mislead the House. That is not correct. Make a submission on something else, but not what you're thinking about.
however, Madam Speaker, petitions were given. The report quoted petitions being given to the Prime Minister. Is that also not correct?
Whom are you asking?
To
Whom are you asking?
to the Prime Minister, and then also to the President.
I am still asking you.
But
whom are you-
unfortunately,
Be a gentleman enough.
okay,
I am saying, whom are you asking whether it was not correct or it's correct?
I was trying to refer to, because now the chairman was also responding when I was debating.
When you're in this house, you address the chair. And the chair is the speaker.
Okay, through you, Madam
Okay.
Chair. Through you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker. The President's name was mentioned that the petition was given to him. The Prime Minister's name was mentioned that the petition was given to him, to her. Through you, Madam Speaker. We have not had the chairperson of the committee mentioning that these people were interviewed as well. And their views actually what? Collected and given to the.
There's an order from the minister.
Then lastly,
There's an order from the
Madam Speaker.
There's an
Sit down.
there's an
I'll use
there's an order from the minister.
What is wrong with you?
From Honorable.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think we have been so patiently in this house as members of this house, scrutinizing for the last submission by the chair and today's summary about this report. Madam Chair, if a member has not been following the report on this floor, and then you come to jumble and trying to confuse the entire parliament, is it in order to bring in the name of the general in this kind of conversation? Is it in order?
I don't
not.
If I don't even know the general you're talking about, and of course it's not in order.
Thank you.
You're dragging in the president, you're dragging in the prime minister, you're dragging
Okay. Now,
PPPP.
can I just conclude now? Can I conclude, Madam Speaker?
If
you are not PPP, sit.
Honorable, there is only one PPPP.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can now sit down and listen.
Members listen to PP.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Okot Santa, MP for Aru North constituency.
A president of PPP.
And the president and everything. Madam Speaker, I rise to thank the committee for the report that they have brought to the House. But also I want this parliament to take note that this is not the first time that NSSF has been found into this kind of saga of removing or stealing money from NSSF, which is money for the savers. It happened at the time when Joy Bakoko Bakoro was a minister. The same thing happens between the board of NSSF and the minister Joy Bakoko Bakoro. And we can confirm this, that indeed Joy Bakoko Bakoro could have had a hand into the NSSF fund because she ran away outside the country. Madam Speaker, it is a high time that we stand our ground to find a way of how to pick the members of the board of the NSSF. Otherwise, we are going to continue with this problem until the people we represent will complain on us. The second issue I want to bring out is that we must have a very, very strong
policy. Why is it that these issues are not happening in other boards and commissions of other ministries? This money does not belong to anybody. The money belongs to the servers, and the servers outside there are really suffering. If today I hear about some money which is put aside in a separate account, saying that the money could be for some people who have disappeared, some people who have already died, the board of NSSF should find out the people whose money is being kept in a separate account. Last year, I had a gentleman whose son passed on. I came with his card to NSSF. I failed to get the explanation from NSSF. They wanted the man to come. The man came, and then they said, because the mother of the children were already not there, but the children was with this man, the son who died. They said they wanted the woman to come for the money. I told NSSF, this man has come here twice. Take the percent of the lady away because the woman is in South Sudan, but the man has children. Give the percentage of the children to the man. NSSF could not handle that until the man went back and he has given up. I am sure the money which is in separate account is the money of our people who have given up because they have worked many times to access the money and they cannot. So in that file of the people who are not there, I am sure the next of kins are there. And you know the home of the people, the villages, they know. They must trust these people and pay back their money.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Emmanuel, Martin, Gabriel. Members, I'm coming.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I am Emmanuel Ongierto Jor, the MP for Jonam in Pakwach District. Madam Speaker, I want to start by thanking the committee for a report well done and for a job well done. Madam Speaker, we are having problems with NSSF because it seems they have endless monies. They have monies that do not get defined in terms of how much they are. You may be mentioning this, but the money is too much for some of these people to handle. And I now see why people don't want to leave offices there, even when their term expires, because they know what they are getting from there. And they know for sure that the monies that get lost is so little that it's like a drop in the ocean. And they would believe that probably somebody would not get them. Yes, this time we may have got them in the areas where the terms of reference was defined, but I know for sure that monies have been lost even in areas that may not have been covered by the terms of reference. That's why I accept to the recommendation about a forensic audit, and that may probably go and discover other things. And Madam Speaker, for me, this money should be reduced. And how? I want to accept the recommendations they have given, but I also want to add that the age for accessing this money should also be reduced so that the money is not too much for people to swim in it. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Martin Mapendos.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I join my colleagues in thanking the chair of the committee for doing a wonderful job. And